What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are here. 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 We are here for another Stormcast slash Shadowcast.
You done stepped in the game.
It's crazy. These folks is crazy. It's a beautiful Saturday today. 7 o'clock my time, and I think it's about 7 o'clock your time, 7:30 ish. Um, we got some of the greatest co-hosts in the game to do it, as well as my Winging It podcast brothers. Jack, how you doing today, man?
Hey man, I'm good. Off the high of solo leveling right now. So yeah,
Hey, oh,
man.
listen.
Hey,
Listen.
that boy Jin Woo, boy.
Oh my goodness! Oh
Man.
my goodness! All right, and we got my other Week in the podcast, brother. You know who he is. Name says it all. Shadowfax, how you doing?
What's going on? I'm also solo leveling, but in a completely different game because Xenoblade Chronicles X means everything has to die on foot. If it's 30 feet tall, I want to kill it on foot.
Right.
So that's basically what I've been gaming for the most part. But it's good to be here on the Shadowcast slash. Oh man, so Shadow Storm.
Yeah.
I don't know if that can be
right.
Can that be a thing? Shadow Storm. That works for me.
That sounds like a conjuring.
Yeah. Shadow Storm #1.
All right, Geronimo, man, how you doing? Oh, you silent?
Now he was just good a few minutes ago.
Yeah. It's the hate.
What up, y'all? I'm good. Unfortunately, had the mute on the mic, man. But yeah, we out here.
All right, and my boy, the other co-host, Trey Vito, how you doing, man?
Yeah.
We can
Y'all
hear
hear
you.
me?
Yeah.
The weekly check-in.
Yeah. You're gonna have to start doing it like the pastors, Vito. Like I was just saying, hello?
What was that?
Hello? Y'all know who it is. Trey Vito in the hello? All right. So thank you all for coming through. Really appreciate everybody who is in the chat. I would really go down the line, but I know y'all coming in heavy today. So real quickly,
Pause.
y'all know how we do on a Stormcast. I know it's a collaboration, but we still gotta do it because we just gotta do it. We gotta pray in. So, Father God, thank you for this time, this opportunity to have this space for us to fellowship and talk about the things that we absolutely love. We appreciate you giving us this time, and we thank you for this time that we have. Let it be a joyous and fun occasion, a knowledgeable occasion. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Man,
Amen.
Fellowship. Okay.
you gotta use bonding words. You know?
Yes. Get it all together. And hopefully protect me for everything I'm probably about to say afterwards. So,
Hey,
Yeah.
Sandstorm, real quick. I'm looking at the video on YouTube right now. Why on over on the live chat I only see the moderators talking and you, but I don't see everybody else.
Oh,
But
because you know what? They're probably all on the shadow side.
oh, you think so?
Yeah,
That's wild.
I mean, I see other people.
That could be.
I see
Yeah.
like Jazzy,
Okay.
Dark Void.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
because on my side, if looking at the chat, a lot of them are purple, and
Yeah,
purple usually means that they're from somebody else's.
Yeah, because on the other side it says paired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay.
what paired
In the
means.
background.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I was wondering that. I thought it just meant they
Yeah.
literally paired their restream account or something.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So
Cool.
so to everybody that joined from my channel, thank you guys. I mean, we shared
Yeah.
majority of the same followers anyway, but thank y'all for coming on both channels or whatever y'all doing. And I appreciate y'all. You're voting for Shadow Storm instead of Storm Shadow.
It don't got as much flair.
Yeah.
Andre said that name was taken anyway because of G.I. Joe, but we
Yeah, let's stay away from them, man.
stay away from them as much as possible.
Yeah, we don't need that type of action around.
So Shadow Storm it is. We'll go from there.
All right. So with that being said, we're just gonna keep it regular because we got quite a lot to talk about today. So, y'all know what the dilly is. Y'all know what our usual is. What have you been playing lately? Actually, we're gonna start with the man Shadow Fox. What have you been playing? I mean, obviously you alluded to it, but
Yeah, so other than killing Millosaurs on foot in Xenoblade Chronicles X, still trying to get through Stellar Blade. I'm at the point where you're at the end, and you either have to be perfect or go back and cheat, because you eventually run out of consumables to use against the end boss. I'm at that situation right now, and I don't know. I just don't feel like either starting over or going back to grind. So I'm just trying to do perfect, and if I don't do perfect, then I reboot the system. One of those things, like the old school games. What you used to do, you play a Fire Emblem, and somebody died. Oh no, we restarting. We're not doing that. So that's kind of what I've been up to lately. Other than that, just waiting on Switch 2, and obviously, I haven't started yet, but prepare the drums because Killer Instinct launched yesterday.
The KI Gold.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to hop on there and
whoa, wait a minute. I'm hearing new news. The KI Gold for 64?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he just
What?
dropped.
Yeah,
He dropped it like yesterday.
dropped yesterday.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah, so now I got a conundrum because the N64 controller is 6 buttons, but I could also use a fight stick. So I don't know which one. I don't know. They're both plugged up, so I had to figure out which one I want to use. I guess it depends on who I'm fighting, but that's pretty much it for me as far as what I got queued up. I do want to play this what's the name of this game called? I keep wanting to call it Xenoblade 3. It's not Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but
What is that?
no, it's the game we saw at the Xbox show that everybody matched the lights now. Expedition 33. So
Expedition.
Yeah. Because it's turn-based RPG, but magically people like them now because one looks realistic, and I don't know. It's for whatever reason everybody's all on top of that now. I'm like, where were y'all at when Child of Light came out? But that's neither here nor there. So I definitely want to get on that. That was up my alley anyway. But apparently, the South of Midnight launched early too. So I don't know if I'm going to play that one first or not. So I'm not sure. But I'm trying to start one of those as soon as possible.
South Midnight's pretty short, so you could probably knock it out. It's only like 10 hours. So.
Is there much to do post game or?
Nah, it's really just a straight through experience the story. The gameplay kind of like the vehicle through it, but it's just pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
Okay, all right.
It's only I think it's only like $40 too.
I'll jump on that first then. That sounds like an easier tackle, so I can get that knocked out.
Yup.
So
okay. All right. Well, Jack, what have you? And this goes out to the chat as well. Y'all know how we do. What have y'all been playing lately? But Jack, what have you been playing lately?
So I just wrapped up Kirby. I'm in the Forgotten Land. So I've gone on record to say, like, when you view Kirby, you always think it's like just that easy sit back and relax game, but then when you get to a certain portion of it, it cranks up, especially if you're trying to 100% the game. I will say that final boss was wild. Like, I feel like there's certain powers you have to use to beat that boss, but I think I end up beating the final boss with the cutter ability. So that worked out. So I just wrapped that up.
I feel like that's the cheat way for like almost every Kirby game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cutter is really good.
Yeah, Cutter's really good, especially when you get it powered up all the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then also too, I had a little bit of birthday money left over, so I ended up getting NES World Championship Edition. It was something I told myself I was going to get when we first saw it, and they were showcasing that game, and I just never picked it up. But then, just kind of in the vein of waiting, looking for something that you just a quick pick up and play. You go and you get a couple of A++ or S ranks here and there, and you could just put it down. Along with playing with the kids, we started playing Power Rangers Rita's Revenge also. So that has been a blast, because the first thing that came to their mind was like, oh, this is just like Ninja Turtles. I was like, yeah, it's made by the same people, so it works out. So I mean, they enjoy it because my kids didn't watch Power Rangers, so they kind of see this, and I know I don't want anybody to tell me, but hopefully we get the green and the White Ranger in this game. I mean, it's the right time frame for it, so he's not
in there.
damn it! Like, I was
Wow.
like, I was waiting for it because I'm like, oh, okay, I see the regular Rangers here, but then I'm like, maybe if I get to a certain point, Tommy show up, and do his thing. But wow, that hurt a little bit. Okay. And then I got on Demon Turf or Demon Tides because Demon Turf was getting ready to come out because they've been showing that game what seems like weekly at this point. So I picked up Demon Tides Neon Splash. I didn't know there was 2 different games, but apparently Neon Splash was kind of like if you own the original game, you got Neon Splash for free. But it fixed a lot of issues, I guess, with the original game, and it added extra levels along with some remix levels. So if you're into platformers, it's definitely one of those games that you'll throw your controller across the room, but it's worth the time to play for sure.
Okay.
Word.
So we got a few people who have posted what they've been playing lately. We got our other Winging It podcast brother here, Andre. He says he's been playing Hogwarts Legacy. The Claw, baby, you know what it is.
Oh, yeah, I bought that too. I did. I bought that and got
Yeah.
the $10 upgrade, so I got the Nintendo Switch 2 version for $28. Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Too.
When I saw that, I was like, well,
Yeah.
the maths for me.
Yeah.
So now I will have it for lunch. So
Who did you end up picking, Jack?
Don't let me tell you a lie. I think it was it Gryffindor? I think so.
He said he's also playing the first Descendant, South of Midnight as well, and trying to get back into Xenoblade Chronicles X. I've been actively trying not to get into Xenoblade Chronicles X. Still waiting for Switch 2 to move into that territory.
Join us.
yeah, I got one. Still, I'm literally right there to start the scale license. Right there.
I just got the license too, and I'm like, I know what happens. No.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like, let me make sure I get all the side stuff done. I'm not gonna miss out on certain missable ones. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yep.
We got T-Vods, formerly known as Poison at one point in life.
Yeah.
Saw the first hour of Expedition 33, and it's really just Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with ML.
Man, that's hurting me because I really
That
wanted
prologue-
that game, but GameStop just came with a nasty trade-in deal, so I had no choice.
It's funny because Vito actually was the first one to say that to me, and then I went back and looked at the trailers, and I was like, dang.
Oh, what I say?
Let me put words in my mouth.
That has well, not Xenoblade 3, but it had some Xenoblade Chronicles X pieces to it.
It does.
And it was
Which one was it?
Expedition 33.
Stellar
yeah.
Blade? Oh, Expedition.
And I was
Yeah.
like, and the first thing that comes up is the number sitting on the tower, and I was like, dang, he's right. Let's see here. Jazzy says, been back in Tekken 8 with Season 2, yay.
Okay.
But still on Xenoblade X Definitive Edition.
You got to specify because some people still playing the Wii U game like me.
Yeah.
I'm playing both, but it's different.
Right.
It's different.
You gotta play them side by side.
Yep, got to do it. Yep.
Andre said the Green Ranger and White Ranger are actually separate people in the comics, so that could actually work to have them both drop at the same time. Maybe even add on Lord Draken as another antagonist. I still haven't gotten over the fact that the Green Ranger soloed these fools on some solo leveling type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like he can.
Jumped in the cockpit and was like,
Whip them out of their own car on some GTA type stuff. You know what I'm saying? It was like, no, I don't want the car. I want you. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. Let me see here. Squared said, still mainly playing Fortnite and Rocket League during the Star Wars season. Just won another game with that AI Darth Vader. That's interesting. I'm curious to know how that game plays with the Star, because every now and then I see it with the TIE fighters and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this ain't Battlefield. Like, what are we doing here? So
Fortnite's just Ready Player One. That's
Yeah,
that's the conclusion. It was always going to be a conclusion. I'm way past the Fortnite ruined gaming phase. I'm more like, what's going to get in next?
yeah.
That's how I'm at. But
Everybody's trying to. It's like another game of Smash Bros. Everybody's trying to get in. FL said Capcom Fighting Collection 2, Castlevania Dominus Collection, Bakaru,
Ooh, fuck.
Devil May Cry
Bakaru.
4 Special Edition, and Man, bro. Chill. You got all the games.
All
yeah.
of them.
You're juggling more than me, and I'd be the one be juggling 3-4 games half the time.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm still
Trying to
playing
be
Fighting
better.
Collection 1 right now. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Got that
I
Marvel
haven't got on the
Capcom
2 yet.
collection.
Golly.
Yeah.
All right, so Geronimo, what have you been playing lately, man?
Man, I've been good lately, so I've only been playing 2 games for real. Yeah, so I've actually been playing Star Overdrive a lot more than I thought I would. 'Cause I've been kind of interacting with more of the world and whatnot. And the blueprint is still very much Breath of the Wild coded in a sense. The shrines are mines. I'm realizing when you go through there, you can get the collectibles to enhance your abilities. So now, like, not only can I surf over water, I have low gravity, so I can just launch myself in the air and just keep flying across the map. And it has some funny bugs and glitches too, but nothing game breaking, so I'm not like tripping or anything like that. But I got all the abilities, and I think I just finished up like opening the entire map, like the towers. I think I might be able to finish it this week. I might be able to, which is good. But that game is pretty good. It's kind of ironic playing that as like my last Switch 1 game for the most part, like to finish. Because it's so similar in like inspiration from Breath of the Wild, yet it has its own thing, so it feels like a full circle type of thing. And it's also coming to other consoles too, if y'all like trying to play on Switch 1 hardware or anything next month. But yeah, of course, as behind me, that's that Clair Obscure Expedition 33. I want to kind of focus fire on this too once I finish Star Overdrive and get it knocked out by Switch 2 on June 5th. And yeah, the prologue, or I forgot who said it. But yeah, the prologue it is very Xenoblade Chronicles 3 coded, and I don't really know how long this game was in development, or is it just ironic? But as you play through the game, you do see, okay, yeah, these people that made this game, they have a deep appreciation for JRPGs, and not like on some copycat type stuff, but on some, they put some thought into the combat and the dodging and parrying and whatnot. So it's for a first game, it's a very, very strong effort. I would say there's still some little things here and there. I'm like, yeah, they could tweak that for another game or whatever. But overall, I'm really enjoying it. It's probably one of my favorite games so far playing this year. I'm not gonna be claiming like no Twitter person like, game of the year, nothing else. Like, bro, like Prime 4 ain't out yet. Donkey Kong Bonanza could surprise and shock people. Especially the people who are like, who cares about Donkey Kong? Who hasn't played a Donkey Kong game in the past 20 years?
Yeah.
And and then of course Mario Kart, we're about to go crazy.
Yeah.
And but that's pretty much what I've been playing. So
that's funny you say that, because I've heard quite a few people being like, Donkey Kong hasn't really shown me anything special. Like what else? I'm like,
those people don't know.
Man, don't even get me started
Don't know
on
what they're
that.
talking
what
about.
else?
This is the second 3D Donkey Kong game, and it's going for a slightly different vibe. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Show me something else? Like, they're hiding so much already.
Yeah, and that's where I don't understand. Like, you want to see so much of the game, then you're disappointed when you get it. It's like, oh, that was everything.
Yeah.
It's like you got to pick your poison.
Pick your poison. All right, Vito, what you been playing lately, my guy?
Same thing as y'all. So,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? I ain't finna go through the whole shit. Yeah.
Everything.
No, I'm playing Expedition 33 and Xenoblade. Pretty much the same thing, y'all. Except, I do have ADD, you know what I'm saying? So I do kind of just venture off and play just random games out of nowhere too, just to kind of give myself a little break. So my break game this week was Saints Row 2.
Really? That's actually my
And
favorite.
then,
My favorite.
Mine too.
Yeah. So I literally went in there and I was like, wow, it still plays the same, but it's still the best one, out of all of them. So
Okay.
I was having fun with that. And then my other kind of ADD game, I like to say, it was I was finishing up what's my Dynasty Warrior. So Dynasty Warrior Origins. So I had to kind of get it back into that and just kind of finish up some loose ends on that. You know, because I didn't finish it. There's a lot of games I still didn't finish, like Zelda, and yeah, there's quite a bit. Actually.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat.
I'm about to get on it. But yeah. So that's all I've been playing. But mainly, that Clear Obscure, that's definitely been my main game I've been playing. And I guess one comparison that I can sit up here and say that I normally just kind of look at and be like, oh snap, that kind of reminds me of. And it might be the outfits or something like that, but it don't play like it. It don't. But for some reason, the essence of it feels like it could be a better Assassin's Creed.
Oh, okay.
Like it's hard to really explain what I'm really trying to get at, but you can feel like that essence of like what it's. Somebody used to work at Ubisoft, so it kind of seems as if they're trying to show Ubi like, hey, look what I can do by myself. You know what I mean? So yeah. So that's what it kind of feels like at times, but. Overall, it's a great game. And then, of course, Xenoblade. I was saying, actually, Sandstorm, I might have said Clear Obscure and Xenoblade kind of remind me of each other, but I was actually saying that it was Stellar Blade and Xenoblade that reminds me of each other. There's some elements of the story that's almost identical. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, did they kind of copy that? Because if you think about it, the beginning opening scene is Eve getting pulled up off that pod from a rescue, and that's the same exact scene from Xenoblade Chronicles X. So when you're getting pulled up out the pod and stuff. So and then of course your ship is blown up and you got to go get other. It's the same, almost the same. Like certain things are almost the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So. And the fact that you're not a human, neither is Eve and Stella. So it's like the android type situation. So it's pretty much the same. It's almost like they kind of borrow. Like since we got Blade, borrow. You know what I'm saying?
Blade equals cool.
Right.
Yeah. So we can borrow a little bit.
Okay. So as for myself, I finally got these game cards is like making me mad. I'm gonna be honest with you. These game cards, these virtual game cards is really.
I'm sorry, man.
They are really irritating. Like I had my daughter come in. What's crazy is like we've had no power for like the last 2 days. So I was really unsure if we were really even gonna have a stormcast because we had a storm 2 days ago, and so
ironic.
Yeah, I know, right?
Stormcast. Sorry.
and it just came out the shadows. That's crazy.
Look, glad y'all good though.
So we had no power, nothing. So I'm telling her like, yeah, you can just go ahead and play the Switch, the one system that always works regardless of what weather condition you in. And she got so mad. She's like, Dad. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, the DLC doesn't work. And I'm like, how does the DLC not work? It's right there. And she's like, it keeps saying virtual card. And I'm like, yo, this is absurd. This is wild. Like, it doesn't even need to be all this. Why? Why do you have to jump through hoops for this? And so I'm an avid hater of this virtual card stuff now. Like I think it does a little too much of the protection side. I'm sure one day I'll be conditioned into being like, it is what it is whatever. But as of right now, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But with that being said, I played Monster Rancher 2, got back into that because I finally got the virtual card to move over. So we've been stunting on fools. My little dragon and me handling business. I got into Xenoblade and I moved a little bit and I was like, remember what you said. Remember what you said. Put it down.
Same way.
Yeah, put the game down. So I stopped playing that. Instead, I went back and I remember, I think we talked about this maybe like two episodes ago about what games that you wanted to complete or that you needed to complete before Switch 2 came out.
Right.
So I went back and tackled Tales of Vesperia. And it's still doing that thing, that trope that I hate of like telling me what I got to do every single step and every single cutscene. I'm like, stop doing that. Stop telling me. Stop telling me. I get it. We need to go to the castle. I heard it the first time, you know?
Jeez. Hand holding.
Yeah, like I don't want to hear. And a lot of times, there's a lot of moments where the character will just be like aimlessly staring, and they'll be like, "Hey, what's wrong?" And they'll be like, "Oh, nothing. I was just wondering, when we get to the castle, will everything turn out right?" And I'm like, "How about you go to the castle first and then figure that out?" Like,
Right.
we don't need to stop every second to think about that. Like,
That's wild.
Wait, so they're stopping in the middle of nowhere and just
yeah, it'd be like a cutscene. They'll all walk together, and one will like slow down and reminisce, and they'd be like, "Is everything okay?" And they may say something about something that just happened, and they'd be like, "Well, it'll be okay once we get to the castle." And they're like, "Right, well, about the castle, never mind." And you'd be like, "Stop doing that, stop." You're like, yeah, it's the year 2000 tropes. Yeah, like it's horrible. So, struggling on my way through that, and still playing Diablo 4. I said I was going to avidly try and stop, and it has not happened yet because that game, with the latest season, is really good. This season is about getting the powers of the bosses. And being able to use those powers in different ways is really, really, really a cool idea. So the last season's specials, usually the seasons like carry over. So you can do like all the previous seasons and stuff like that, make your character really powerful. But last season's wasn't there, so I'm starting to think that they're going to start like kind of shooing away some stuff that's not as important. So if you missed out, you missed out. And I think this one, especially with boss powers being a thing, they're definitely going to take this away because some of those powers are like way too powerful for a character just to be having, especially if they start off on level 1. Like it gets to be too much. So but yeah, definitely enjoying that. Other than that, I think I played a little bit of Need for Speed Heat. Still, in my opinion, probably the greatest Need for Speed game that has come out lately.
I was about to say, I'm like, sir. For real?
No,
Which one?
hold on.
He got to be particular. Like,
Right.
He's very specific, sir.
Yeah, definitely. As of late, Unbound is it ain't it to me. It ain't it. So,
That's the anime looking one, right?
yeah. Missed me with that.
Almost caught myself slipping with that one a while back. I was like,
I put a lot
anime
of time
looks
in it.
nice. But
Yeah, I put a lot of time in it, but that whole day and night cycle stuff, it get worn out pretty fast. And the story was stupid too.
Yeah.
But,
Yep. I'll pass. So other than that, there's still like games like Starlink that I have to finish. Armored Core, that's a thing still. But yeah, we'll probably try and tackle those games this week. So that is our icebreaker for today. If you do want to throw in the games that you've been playing lately, throw it in the comment section. We will still shout it out. Be on chill. So other than that, I'm gonna pass it off to Shadow, who's gonna take it away for our main conversation.
Well, yeah, I originally thought that if it was going to be a Shadowcast, I was going to, because I hadn't had one this entire year, I don't think. So I was going to cover what happened since the Switch 2 got announced, but I'm fairly certain everybody here knows what's going on, and that video got a lot of views. So I'll just cut to the chase, and the first thing I want to do is just share some content, and you guys can tell me what you think of it, and we'll go from there. See if I can get it on here.
I think I gave you access to. And
Okay,
if not, I'll
yeah.
just throw it right up.
Let's see what we got here. Okay, so let's see what this looks like.
Man,
y'all just tell me
looks
what
dope.
y'all think.
Oh, that looks fabulous, boy.
Oh yeah, here we go.
You know what's crazy too? This looks better than what they showcased originally.
Yeah.
They put in work.
It's probably a newer build.
Yeah, sure. Not to mention it's probably gonna get like a day one patch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's real clean. It's so weird hearing him in Japanese.
Right.
何がしたいんだ。
That could be
しばらく考えて気が変わった。今はお前を殺そうと思っちゃいない。
じゃあさっさと消えろ。
あのな、こっちも大変だったんだぞ。お前はゴミ捨て場で目覚め、俺はお前の頭の中で目覚めた。お前の思考や記憶と格闘しながらな。それにこの間の後、冷静になって考えたんだが、俺たちは互いに助け合えるはずだ。まずはローグに会いに行こう。
And I'm
あい
looking
つとは
at
昔馴染みみたい
there's
なもん
certain
だ。
choices they made with the lighting too, but we'll talk about that. In a little bit.
過去の亡霊が何言ってんの。当時のお友達はみんな死んでるか。ボケてお前のことなんか忘れてるに決まってる。
俺は伝説になった。忘れることなんかできねえよ。
そもそもお前がローグの知り合いだからなんだ。会いに行って俺の脳腫瘍が挨拶したがってますとでも言うのか。
心配すんな。ローグはもっと馬鹿げた話を散々聞いてきてる。お前がまだ父ちゃんの玉の中にいた時からな。
知ってるよ。お前の記憶を見た。気持ち悪い。
とにかくローグのことは俺に任せておけ。お前はアフターライフへ向かいな、相棒。
誰が
So
相棒。
shadowing isn't turned off.
I was surprised to see how smooth it still was when this explosion happened.
Right, yeah.
Didn't drop anything.
Wow.
Favorite part. Red Steel 3, let's go.
Hey, only the sword, baby.
ええ、見せつけてやりましょう。
Oh, you're supposed to jump down from that.
Oh, no.
Yes. Yes. The Wolverine.
Oh.
You know,
So
the first thing that came to mind for that particular scene was I intend on playing this game in mouse mode, right? And because of what they shown, how seamless you can go from mouse control to just separate Joy Cons,
Don't say it.
and
Don't
just
say
go
it.
straight into that melee mode, like just flip it up, and then you're in melee mode, and then just go right back to mouse without
Yep.
switching anything. That's nuts.
Switch from the sword. Back down to the mouse.
Yes.
It's too clean. It's too clean. Like,
So whether DLSS is employed or not, doesn't matter. Now that you see the end result. So and
Yeah.
I think what it is that I don't want to get on conspiracy theory terms, but when you see things too many times, you kind of know what it is. We lived through the Wii generation, Wii U and whatnot, and we know what we see. We saw the beginning of the Switch generation, how certain people talked or whatever, and then they end up being wrong about it, and they're like, hey, so like now Review Tech USA is saying the Switch is his best platform ever. Like that would for like the first 2 years, he tried really hard to hate that system.
Yeah.
He tried really hard to hate it, and at some point, the games tell you to shut up for trying to pardon my future French, but yeah, that's kind of what happens here, right? So what we just saw, from what I understand, there was no ray tracing from what we just saw here. All the reflections are either baked or screen space reflections for the floor whenever there's wetness or what have you, or from a result of light bouncing off of a surface, right? Right. Did that matter to anybody on this call right now?
Of course not.
Okay, but we did see very crisp textures, lines, and all the other kind of stuff. I didn't see any stair steps unless I had to look really, really close. The majority of that stuff that's rendered at low resolution is in the distance, and you don't really care anyway. I'm looking at a still right now towards the end of the video, and I can see a stair step on a piece of a building so far off into the horizon line it doesn't matter. And if you're looking at that 60 times a second, like what are we doing? Like what are we, that doesn't make a game unplayable to me. And I can detect that, right? I can see that, and also I know that kind of stuff has to happen if you want 2+ hours with 9 watts being drawn by both the CPU and the GPU combined. And like they try to compare this in the other video that I showed as well. And first thing I want to do is make a disclaimer. I was wrong about something. I was wondering why Geeky was comparing the 2050 to the T239 SoC, right? Because I looked at the number and I'm like, this is an ampere, but I forgot that the 2050 was the only ampere model that they backported for that series. So it is an ampere chip. However, it's severely, how can I say this, hampered. It has half the amount of a data bus. It has half the amount of clocks, and the shader models are weaker wavelength. I could say, like, so when you talk about the shader model and whatnot, this starts with 8.6 on this, and it does not have the ability to go higher than that for that specific chip. That's probably TDP reasons, driver reasons, that kind of thing, right? So the natural thing to do would be, hey, what replaced this chip so we can make a natural comparison if we're going to compare a laptop to a custom SoC that's not going to consume nowhere near as much power. You could have used the 3050 and compared it. And the 3050 has the exact same 128 28-bit bus, the exact same memory bandwidth per megahertz. So you could have downclocked that to see what you. But the whole thing was, I don't think they wanted to do that because, number one, Digital Foundry did that a year or so ago or whatever to make whatever negative statement they wanted to make. And they didn't want to be too different from what they were doing.
Right.
And I'm like, if you did that, though, you would have saw a couple of things. Number one, you would have saw the game would have ran way better at a much lower wattage and at those same clocks that he just showed. So for even when they tried to make it look bad in the how can I say this, in the optimized way that it was, it still looked pretty good in what they were trying to throw together and down clock and what have you.
Right.
So now you have this thing looks significantly better than any of that crap, and this game is still a work in progress until until like I want to say probably they'll be done by probably next week. By next week they'll probably have a gold master they're ready to ship around the world or whatever, right? But it's just weird to me because now we have this system and we know exactly what it is. Nobody is even trying to make the comparison to say, hey, look, this laptop we just showed you, this laptop, it takes at least 100 watts to boot up. The SoC in it takes up to 45 watts. And this thing over here is 15 watts total. Like the ceiling is 45 watts, counting the dock, counting the USB power, counting everything else that connects to the system. and the power for DisplayPort going out to the HDMI port. So all of those kind of things that are powered on the inside of the hub and the system itself all fits within that envelope. The SoC itself is like 9 watts. So you're comparing a 9-watt part to a 30-watt part, and what are you gonna see here? So now, even though that power difference is there, TDP, for people who don't know what TDP is, it's your thermal power unit or thermal power comparison. So if you're doing that with 9 watts, then if they had 30 something watts, they'd be doing a lot more.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I that's the issue. That's the issue that I have with some of that stuff there. So basically, at the end of the last video that I just did, it was basically just telling people, just hold your horses, man. At the end of the day, anyway, it's going to be the developer's talent that gets you whatever you want to see anyway.
Exactly.
And this system is more than capable. Switch was more than capable in a lot of cases for a lot of stuff back then that people didn't believe was going to happen until it did, because you just needed code.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have access to all the libraries, you got advanced shaders, you got all this other kind of stuff that you want to do, and the excuses are kind of gone.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as comparing this to any other platform, and why you keep trying to say PS4 level and keep comparing it next to PS4 footage, you're afraid to put PS5 footage in there. And my thing was, you didn't want to put PS5 footage in there to show how bad it was next to PS5. You were afraid it was going to be too close.
Too close, yeah.
So like, we can't do that because it's brand new hardware. It's 2021, man. It's not going to take as much for it to do the same thing at a lower resolution.
Right.
So like, what do we?
It's funny you say that too, because I think I brought this up last week. Is like, isn't it odd that you have the Switch 2 and they are so heavy on showing that comparison with the PS4, but when there's PS4 games that are also coming to PS5, they show you the PS5 version, the Xbox One or Xbox Series X version, the Xbox Series S version, the PS4 Pro version, and the PS5 Pro version. But they don't do the same for Switch. Why is that?
So there's a guy on is CR1 or something like that. I can't think of the name of his account or whatever, but he does a bunch of those direct comparisons like that because they don't. So I would just go look at those and see for yourself. And for him, it was easy because he just took the footage. He didn't even capture it himself. He took the footage from Sony's presentation for Final Fantasy VII Remake on Integrate, I guess it was, for PS5, and compared it to Integrate on Switch from the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
He just put those side by side, and that was it. Like, you can't come up with an excuse and say, well, we didn't have capture footage. It's there. Use the reference footage that's already on the website.
Yeah.
They didn't even want to do that. So that already tells you the people that you quote unquote trust to be technical experts, they also have an agenda because they got to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know, a lot of people trust them. That's fine. That's okay. They finally do frame rating now that they've been called out about it. About 3 or 4 years ago, myself included, with a team of people. But they do provide good information. I just don't like some of the words used when they provide said information.
Yeah.
I don't like for a Nintendo game. I don't like saying something is PS4 level. Like, I don't. None of those things happen when they talk about a new Sony or Microsoft system.
Right.
When the Series X was announced, they didn't talk about how weak the tablet CPU was in both of those systems, and they are weak, by the way. They didn't talk about how Microsoft lied and said that it was data center worthy server grade CPU when it was not. It does not have it has less L1 cache than the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a data center grade CPU at all. The L1 cache is way higher than that. Right. So when you and definitely L2. So when they didn't call them out on stuff like that, and then you say, hey, well, this is the next generation of this, blah 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 blah, and you're not saying that same thing about Switch 2 right now. Switch 2 is literally the next generation of Switch, and we're not hearing that next generation talk.
Oh no,
that's
not happening.
Those buzzwords are reserved only for Sony and Microsoft.
Yeah,
and that's what's more frustrating to me, because I mean, generations are defined by time anyway, so it doesn't matter what technology is inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But they're recreating that that schoolyard fight all over again. They're trying to do, well, this is better than this, and this is better than that. And when there are clear concessions for either of those systems, even the ones that they champion, they kind of look the other way or come up with other excuses to talk about it and whatnot. All I have to do is mention Steam Deck, and that's it. Just look at the Steam Deck coverage, then look at Switch coverage, and then look at Switch 2 coverage.
Yeah. Yep.
And we know clearly now, because you could just look at any footage of Cyberpunk running on the Steam Deck. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
It's not pretty at all.
No.
So, and that could be because, hey, you know what? Nobody's gonna make a bespoke game for Steam Deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
That could be the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, what actually happens, we know what that looks like. So why would you then still go about, hey, well, look at these benchmark numbers. Look over here. Look over there. Look at these floating point numbers that we've been using for generations that it never meant any fucking thing. Excuse my future French. Or my
You're good.
They never meant anything. So it's about how you use them.
Yeah.
And that bothers me because what hurts me the most about this is I have seen not just Nintendo, but I've seen other developers say, hey, look, you know what? This CPU doesn't have that much high floating performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a branch heavy CPU.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I just do a whole bunch of integer tasks on it, pass whatever it is that I'm working on to the GPU as a SIMD object, get my result back in float, and then process that again with more branch logic so I can run the next task.
All right.
Other developers have no problem with this, but whenever you talk about third party, whatever, blah, 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 the engine that they're throwing on top of the game that they're trying to develop doesn't support that. So instead of them, I don't know, using their brain and saying, hey, look, we'll spend some time to optimize this because this CPU doesn't work with this, they just say it doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
When it's the tools that you're using and your talent, that's the problem.
So I got a quote here from a little known developer, CEO of a little known development team by the name of Take-Two.
Yeah, I saw that today. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they were asked again about the Switch 2. And it's funny, it's good that you said that, Shadow, because one of the things that's really kind of stuck out, and me and Jack were talking in the background, was like, it's weird that only Digital Foundry is really, and it's, subsidiaries, is really pushing this whole PS4 thing, but you really don't hear it from the developers like that. Mm-hmm. And before it was like everybody, they were all pushing the narrative. So it's really only one person pushing the narrative, and you hear that same narrative amongst them, right? So Take-Two, Zelnick, who's the CEO for Take-Two, he says, historically being a third party in the Nintendo business has been a bit challenging, which we already know the history between them. And this was during an earnings call. He said, I think Nintendo's been very forthcoming in addressing that. And we're stepping up too, because we have great optimism for the platform. In terms of what we would bring to any platform, we addressed it on case-by-case basis, but we obviously want to be where the consumers are. And even higher up, he said in his original piece, we feel very good about it. We're supporting Nintendo Switch 2 at launch with 4 titles.
Yep.
This is our broadest, most robust support ever for a Nintendo launch. So clearly, we believe.
Yeah. Now, what's crazy about that statement too, right? Because Take-Two has had their issues with Nintendo before.
Business decisions.
Yeah, business decisions.
Very much business decision, yeah.
And also very boldly dropped WWE 2K18, knowing that game barely ran. Like, it's almost as if they just threw it on there and called it a day. Mm-hmm. So when you look at games like Civ 7 and Borderlands 4, to where they mentioned we went from the ground up with Borderlands, and then of course it's the update patch for Civ 7. But I would like to see if they took this same effort towards NBA 2K and WWE this time around. If they went from the ground up, because we've noticed every developer that has done these creator voices, which I love, by the way, like they've made sure they took a effort to say, hey, we built it from the ground up. We didn't just port it. So that way you know what you're getting. to where what last generation we know everything would have been ported. They wouldn't have spent any amount of time to actually do this. So I can see where he's coming from of like, hey, we're going to give this a shot, and I love that developers are doing this. It's just why can't the media do that? Like, why can't they give it a shot, knowing that hey, this could be a great device to where we have multiple ways to play, and understand that yes, this is a tablet. Like this is a tablet with controllers on it, and it shouldn't reach the powers of PS5 or PS5 Pro. It shouldn't, and we all understand that. I think anybody with common sense understands that. But
the thing about that is they understand when you talk about Steam Deck.
yeah, and that's another thing too, because even when you mentioned the Cyberpunk situation with Steam Deck, and I think Doc Trey mentioned the same thing with Mortal Kombat 1, to where after all the updates, the Switch version actually looks better than the Steam Deck version. The thing is, you're never going to have anybody make something directly for Steam Deck.
Yep.
That's why I never understood when they was like, oh, this runs on PC. Does it? Because that's a very blanket statement, because my rig isn't the same as Sandstorms or Shadows or Trey's. Like, we don't have the same rig, so you can't just blankly say, all right, it runs on PC, because I have to go to can you run it before I even decide to I can't just I can't in confidence go and just buy a game just because I have a PC. And this crazy thing is the same thing with Steam Deck, because some of their games that have the verified check mark don't work.
They broke.
So it's weird to kind of see the same narrative going on. And even though you go heavy into the specs and what are possibilities if the developers take the time, as somebody like myself that just play the games, as long as I see it work, I don't care what they got in there. They can have 55 teraflops of what, I don't care. Like, if the game runs, it runs. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, that's my thing too. People like have to stop bragging about specs as if they're going to develop the game themselves,
or as if they're
like,
making money off of it.
Facts.
it's got this many teraflops in it. I was like, oh yeah, what are you going to do with those instructions?
Right.
They're in flight right now. What are you going to do with them?
Yeah.
Like, what are you? Well, I can do this, and then the games that they're talking about, I look at them and then I look at this. I'm like, this is not even optimized. Like, your GPU utilization is like 30%. You got a memory problem over here. Like your CPU is waiting on memory. Like what?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Why you got 8 gigs of RAM in here, but you got brand new graphics card and brand new CPU? What are we doing? Like those kind of things. Like you're in Windows 11, but you got compatibility for Windows 7 on here. Like what? Yeah. Like what? These are the kind of people we're talking about. And then that's the other thing too. A lot of these PC gamers that come over here to be joy police, if you will.
Yeah.
They're not having fun for a reason, because if you look on Steam's chart and you look at their metadata, the average GPU is still a 1090 or 1080 or 1070. The 1070 Ti, I think, is the most frequently used GPU on there, and that's saying something. That the highest I'm saying the most average CPU core count is 8. So there's a lot of people out here with 8 cores and a 4 generations old GPU, but they're over here trying to tell you, with your custom system that you're about to buy or whatever, that you're buying an inferior product. And I'm like, even when your junk was brand new, your games didn't work good.
Yeah.
So but I could play 120 frames in Quake. I'm like, cool. Anybody with a browser could do that. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? So that's, I understand and I see them and I see what's going on. That's why sometimes I'll just to especially for the trolls on Twitter and YouTube, sometimes a lot of times just giving them what they want isn't what they want. When they say, oh well, blah blah blah, and then your game can't do this and can't do that, and you just say, yeah, it can't. They don't even talk anymore.
They don't.
Because the whole point was for them to engage with you and have you riled up and do whatever. You're like, yep, you're right. You're extremely wrong, but you're right today. And then conversation's over with. Because the whole point was they didn't expect you to just say, yeah. They wanted to tell you all the details about why, because they Google AI'd it or what have you.
Yeah.
And
definitely AI.
Everything's a forum war.
Yeah, no one knows how to search anymore.
No, and they definitely don't know how to read with this whole the Switch game key card situation.
Oh my goodness!
Like there are people still thinking that Mario Kart World is $90 in the United States. Like
Yeah.
people are not reading. They don't know. They don't know how to read an article. They don't know how to use. It's almost like everybody just hey Grok.
Oh yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Right.
I've been reading some
Yeah.
articles about that, even that's down to like high school level. It's looking rough.
It's oh yeah, the
Looking
recomprehension
rough.
bad. But even
Like,
when I went to
like-
work the other day, I have a one of our best workers at work, and she was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna buy a Switch 2 because I have to pay $10 to $15 for every one of my Switch 1 games to upgrade." I'm like, "No, you don't." I'm like, where did you get that from? Like, I need you to go back and look at like you're one of the smart ones. I'm gonna need you to go and reread that because you're disappointing me right now.
It's funny to me because I hear stuff about people, even Nintendo heads, and they're like, "Well, I can't do this because of that," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Where'd you get that info from?" Oh,
Yeah.
so and so. Did you watch the video that Nintendo put out?
Right.
Mhm.
Oh no, I ain't get a chance to watch that yet. But you listen to them first. I don't
It's crazy.
Yeah,
like the people that are selling you this thing. They gave you a whole bunch of information. There's a whole fact for you to go read and everything. Like
Yeah.
you have a Nintendo Switch. Just when you turn it on, it tells you, "Hey, there's a new system. Look at all the information on here." Just
That's the
what?
nutty part about it because
Click
it's
that.
literally on the news section of the Switch.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can just check it out.
150 million plus of them out of there. Turn one on and look
Yeah.
at it, and it tells you everything you need to know, and it directly debunks whatever the hell you heard from insert YouTuber over here or this person on TikTok,
Right.
because they just made bank off of you listening to you,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure you clicked the ad they were selling too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I heard but this guy at my job, he walks up, he knows I'm the tech guy. When it comes to video games, come see me. Come see your boy. And he's like, what's the latest on the Switch 2? And I was like, oh man, I'm definitely buying, blah, 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 blah. He's like, I don't think I'm gonna, he's like, I think I'm gonna hold on. He's like, I'm gonna hold off. He's like, is it true games are gonna be $90? I'm like,
The well's been
where did you
poisoned,
hear
my
that
friend.
from?
The well has
Yeah.
been poisoned for far too long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't even listen to gaming related stuff unless it comes from me. So who did you hear that from? Who
Right.
lied to you?
but the crazy thing is,
That's comedy right there. You know, like laughing somewhere.
as dumb as this sounds, right?
Yeah.
There are really smart and evil people that know this, right?
Mhm.
They know this has an effect on people. If you poison the well with falsehoods, the truth doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They know that. And I don't even have to talk about current world events, but it's really easy to manufacture consent about anything you want as long as you're repetitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you're repetitive, and I try to make that a point even about my channel too. I don't. If you notice, I'm not uploading a video every day, and whenever I do upload, I try to make sure the content is as accurate as possible at the time, because I don't want anybody to be following me just because I'm trending.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody that follows me, I know they follow me because they want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need bots. I'm good. So that's the other thing too, and I just really think that needs to be a focus, probably amongst your gaming peers. Period. Like as you stand in line to go get a Switch 2 or whatever, just like ask them, what information are they reading, or like where are y'all about, and what games they plan on playing and why, like that kind of stuff. Because we got people that are literally like, you know how it is when you go to college or you go to high school, anything like that. Whatever the other person's talking about is now the popular thing.
Yeah,
Y'all
yeah,
are sitting here
yeah.
talking about something and nobody even researched any of this. Like it's
At
just
all.
a thing. If everybody says Sally over here is the girl to go talk to, everybody thinks, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Nobody ever talked to her. Nobody ever dated her or anything like that. But everybody kind of like knows this little thing. It's like that's the tribal knowledge that we have at this point.
Well, that's
And that's-
crazy that you
that's
say
what
that
it
because
matters,
we
too.
say all the time that Twitter isn't real, but the crazy thing is actions of Twitter have gotten into the real world
Yes.
where people won't
Yeah.
research; they'll just go off of whatever somebody else says. And I had a conversation with a few people when I went to go pre-order my Switch 2 at GameStop because we had a long line. So everybody there knew what was going on. Like they understood like, hey, there's $90 being spewed out here. At that time, I don't think we had like a full understanding of the game key cards at the time. But now that we have that knowledge, to me personally, I think that's a fair gap between digital and physical. You know, I'm not a collector by any means, but if you're telling me I either have to go with game key card or digital, I'm gonna go with the game key card route.
Yeah.
100% of the time. Because you have the ability to trade in whatever. And from my understanding as of right now, you just have to do that one check-in and you're straight for the rest of the time. And much like some other content creators going crazy and going ham on OJ of like, oh no, it's tied to your account, so you can't just trade it. Like Nintendo specifically told you it didn't tie to your account.
They haven't done games tied to accounts since like Wii U 3DS era.
Yeah.
And they were transitioning out of that in like 2016.
Exactly. And it's a lot of things of like, you know, I get it. And we talked about this before we even saw the Switch 2. This is hungry season. Like this is hungry season. Like I'm gonna create my YouTube channel. I know how to get people to come to my channel. I know how to get people mad. Like it's getting to the point to where I don't respond to blue check marks anymore. Like if I see you got a blue check mark and it sounds like you on some foolishness, I don't even respond to you because I know I'm giving you engagement, and that's what you're looking for.
So since you kind of brought up that interesting segue, do we need to force people to read? I mean, if we can, we can if we will, because people don't want to
read.
Like I even have it in full non-dark mode for you, so we can do what we need to do here. Because people, man, I don't know. People got to engage, man. It's nuts, man. Is just sad stuff. But do I need to read it out loud?
Go ahead, Paul.
Nintendo Switch 2 supports both regular game cards and game key cards. Game key cards are different from regular game cards because they don't contain the full game data. Instead, the game key card is your key to downloading the full game to your system via the internet. Does everybody understand that concept? I'm just.
Okay. Are there any questions? Raise your hand.
Any questions? This is crazy stuff that we have to do this. After it's downloaded, you can play the game by inserting the game key card into your system and starting it up like a physical game card. It's not locked. There's no. You just put the thing in there and it works. Like
for our visual learners,
that's
now
crazy.
We need the visuals.
On the package, you got this thing here, and it tells you game key card. Like what do we? And look, you can even scan it to get more information about it, and it takes you to the Nintendo page about game key cards, so you would know. So if you're in the store and you don't know what game key card is, you can put your phone right here in this little area here, and it'll take you to Nintendo's page, this very page we're looking at right here, so you can get more information. Even if you've never been to this page, you can now, right in the middle of Target or wherever you are, looking at this game. So, to download a game, an internet connection, and enough free space in your Nintendo Switch system memory or micro SD express card are required. They spell out micro SD express. You can't just use a regular SD card.
Can I use a regular SD card?
Micro SD express card.
But it has micro SD in it first, so that means I should use that too, right? I choose to not read the word express.
Do we have to do reading comprehension here?
I'm telling you. Hey, look.
Let's ask Brock.
Hey, look, I've already seen the numbers with my kids being in school. There are seniors that are graduating at a kindergarten reading level, sir. It doesn't surprise me.
It's just bad. They literally show you how to put the cartridge in the system.
So that's why people have been clowning Nintendo for putting like those very like simplistic videos up on Nintendo Today's app, but it might be worth it.
Yeah, because
this is how you insert an SD card, people. This is how
they killing me. Like
I guarantee you, if you look up a search, I bet you that's trending.
Yeah.
Like how to insert that. I bet you it's trending.
The autofill.
I feel like this should probably be. Let me just make this even bigger for people to see. This is how big we need. There we go, right there. Download the game.
Step 2.
The game itself isn't included on the game key card. For everybody didn't know that. So you have to download it before you play.
Right. When
you insert the game key card, further instructions will be displayed on the home menu. Follow the instructions to download the game.
Please.
Yes. Basically what happens is just like it does on the Switch menu. When you're getting ready to download a game, in the home menu, it'll give you the status of your download. That's basically what's going to happen. Please note to download the game, you must have enough free. They reiterate again. You must have enough space in system memory or micro SD card. The amount of free space required is indicated on the game key card packaging. So they tell you they tell you how many gigs the game is going to be on the back of the box. So like this is foolproof. Play the game. Once the game is downloaded, you're ready to play. Am I too loud on this mic, by the way? I just want to make sure I'm not too loud. I want to spike levels here. Explain some stuff. Okay.
Hello.
So what it says, once the game is downloaded, you're ready to play. An internet connection is only required when you launch the game for the first time. I might have to read this a couple times. The internet connection is only required when you launch the game for the first time. I'm going to say it one more time. An internet connection is only required when you launch the game for the first time. Why are we having conversations about this not being the case on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook of all places? Why? When this is here, you can clearly read this. You do it one time.
Can you read
part? Can do whatever.
Can you read part B? Can you read
one more time?
Can you read the part that's right after that, just in case they didn't understand what that meant?
This is the best part. After this, the game can be started even out without an internet connection.
Where's the step where I blame Nintendo for not reading and understanding basic instructions?
But it's so confusing. There's so much misinformation. Nintendo failed at communicating.
You failed at listening.
I don't. And all of this was in the video too. Like they put this in the video when they talked about the new cartridges they're having and what they're going to be doing as far as games going forward, because they knew there were going to be bigger games and stuff like that and download only games, right? They knew this was going to be the case. So they talked about this on the video as well in translated Japanese to English. But they left the site here for you too. So there's zero room for misinterpretation.
So let me ask the panel a question real quick. So I've also seen that it is Nintendo's fault that third-party developers are choosing to use game key cards. Now, with even though we know that's not true, right. How do y'all feel about all third parties going this route, even if they don't have a game that goes past 64 gigs?
I'll save my comment for last.
Okay,
but y'all tell me how y'all feel.
I made a whole video about it too. My stance on it hasn't really changed. To me, I just view it as a necessary evil given the form factor of the Switch or the Switch 2 and their unwillingness to compress their games to want to fit under the 64 gigabytes.
Right.
Like we've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, just across various episodes or just on Twitter or whatever. Folks want a third party. Nintendo made the Switch hybrid concept in 2017. This is what we got. So we're gonna probably get the most third party since Switch, technically GameCube. So this either just gonna have to either deal with it and get your game key card, or if you just you're pouting, go full digital, or do the third option and just straight up play Nintendo first party or whatever else is the physical card. We know Nintendo's good on it. They've said it themselves this week. They reconfirmed it this week, and to investors multiple times. They're gonna always put their games on the 64 gigabyte card or whichever ones do exist going forward. It's gonna be the third parties. It's gonna be funky because they want to save a few bucks, like Sega or Square Enix or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah.
Anybody else? Any other takers?
Is this similar to Xbox 360?
It's similar to every console from the 8th generation that put in a disc and was like downloading the rest of the game and was like, you good? Yeah. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing.
Nintendo's fault.
Oh, okay.
I'll say this: within the last 4 years, the Call of Duty franchise has sold almost 200 million copies to people. Right? So there's a bunch of people out there with those games. They bought Modern Warfare 2 and the Modern Warfare 3 remakes. Right?
Yep.
When they put that disc in, this is exactly what they were faced with.
Yeah.
Exactly what they were faced with. A 50 or a 25 gigabyte disc they put in their system only had 70 something megabytes on it, and it told you go here to download the rest of the game. 150 gigs plus, go forth. So here's the other problem: you may or may not be able to give this disc to somebody else, depending on what Activision has going on because they got this account stuff now. So as soon as you you go download the game or whatever, you still got to go sign in to Activision's thing to play the game or play online or whatever it is you're going to do. So that might actually be more complicated than what this is, because there's nothing at this point. You put the game in, and since it's a game key card, this might not even require your account.
Yeah.
It just says internet connection.
Yep.
That was one thing I was wondering about too, actually. Yeah. If it's just calling directly to the server to initiate a download.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
Somebody bought this game. Here's the key. Boom. You got it.
Download it.
And it just moves from system to
essentially
system now.
kinda like
It is
how-
officially a cartridge now.
Yep.
Whatever
essentially kinda like how,
whatever system you put that key card in, you can download that game from the server.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's so strange to me that people. Where in this information did Nintendo say, "Hey, we're only making 64 gig cards"? I don't see anywhere in there that that's the case. I don't see anywhere in there where they said, "Hey, we're forcing third parties to use this." Nowhere in there. And enabling is a crazy word because they were enabled by being a developer and being able to submit a project in the first place.
I mean,
And that's for any platform.
In all honesty, that would be a lie anyway, since we know that Cyberpunk is using the 64 gig. If that was the case,
They're third party.
Right.
It's because they care too, and they know pulling up day one, they're gonna reap all the benefits.
Yep. I think that's the highest selling. Cyberpunk is the highest selling, followed by Street Fighter, which is ironic. But as far as like, as far as pre-order games,
that's like so frustrating, right? So the misinformation is kind of painful, but we shouldn't have to like. It shouldn't be this granular. It shouldn't be this way. But for whatever reason, I guess you can make money doing this. You can just say, "Hey, I hate it. Why I'm not buying the Switch 2?" And they will just point to them not reading this. They'll point to them not understanding how the game chat feature works. You know, why do I have this camera that's only 480p? I'm like, it's an optional accessory, and you bought the wrong one.
Thank you.
Hey, this part, RJ, yeah, you said something right here. You said, "I don't care what anyone says. Installing a game is similar to downloading a game. If I need space for said game, I'm still somewhat downloading." Fact.
Yes.
Spitting.
So hold on. So quick question too, because I was a little confused on this, and I was like, I don't own every PlayStation, Xbox game, whatever. Are there any PlayStation or Xbox games that you put into your console and you are not asked to install?
No, I don't. I think
Not
that
that I know of.
left during
I did a
Xbox
test.
One days.
I did a test when Spider-Man 2
Hey,
came out on
Young-
PS5 because Insomniac, when that game was about to come out, they put out one of those, the picture with the text on it. So, thanks to Cyberpunk 2020, we think that's bad news. But they put it on Twitter and they were like, "Hey, there's gonna be a day one patch that will they pretty much said like it will greatly improve your experience of the game." And that got me thinking, oh, what if I just completely unplug my PS5, put the disc in, and the whole game is on the disc. Now, there were some bugs in the first 30 minutes of the game because, it's mostly set piece and action and stuff going on. But yeah, the full
now
game
when
is
you
on
put
the
it
disc.
when you put it in, it didn't ask you to install nothing.
No, you have to install it.
And
No,
see, and that was my because
you
I
always
think
have to
everybody's
install the games. Yeah.
exactly. And see, I think a lot of people have like a different idea of what that means. Because I'm like, every PlayStation game I put in my PlayStation when I had it, every Xbox game that I had, you have to install it before you can even play it. Xbox started doing that back in the Xbox One days, but it was optional then. But now it's a requirement. So I was like, you have to give up some type of memory, regardless. It may not be the entirety of the game, of course, but you're still taking some type of memory away.
Towards the end of the Xbox 360 generation is when they started phasing out games running directly off the disc.
Okay.
Yep.
So the last system that actually do that was Wii U. To where you needed no optional whatever, it ran straight off the disc because everything was built around the Wii U was built around the bandwidth being that slow off the disc drive, so everything worked fine anyway. The memory hierarchy was set in a way that once the timing was complete for these 25 megabytes per second or whatever, these other things are complete. So everything was like kind of working in tandem. And I mean, that's the thing you have to do anyway, no matter what your storage is, right? Because, and I keep having to tell people this all the time, the NVMe drive in the PlayStation 5, the magical PlayStation 5 SSD, right, is slower than the eDRAM in the GameCube. The GameCube. I'm gonna say it again. The GameCube has a faster embedded memory than the NVMe storage in the PlayStation 5. 10 gigabytes per second. Sustained. So not even theoretical. That's tested and done. So when we talk about things, right? And I really wish that people paid attention to Mark Cerny's video, because he was just telling you that it's a flaw. And the fastest form of memory is main memory. Really, it's cache, but that's a different story because nobody wants to pay for pure SRAM. It's going to be the RAM that you have in your system. And you're trying to figure out a way to get it from the media that you downloaded to being RAM, to be in RAM. So from Xbox 360 and PS3, and definitely during the last generation, through the 8th generation, until now in the 9th generation, going to 10th, you have to copy tertiary storage to memory some type of way. So you do some type of staging where either it's coming off the disk, going onto a hard drive, and then being streamed into RAM. That's effectively what's happening. Basically, the games are too damn big for the RAM, which is the problem that from the beginning. That's why we wanted CDs. That's why we wanted DVDs and stuff like that, so we can stream data directly from the disk, because it's too much to sit in RAM at one time.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, which is wild? I think I made this analogy last video. It we're at the point now where these consoles are like how PCs were back in the 90s. Remember how you had to put in the CD, load up the game before you could play it, wait for the install, all of that. But you still needed the disc in order to play the game. Like it just wasn't all there for you.
CD key.
Yep. Same concept.
So now we're in the situation where basically that was a flawed concept in the 7th and 8th generation. So they tried to make it better by adding SSDs in the other consoles in the current generation, in the 9th generation. But turns out, depending on the game, and if you don't want to develop your game engine for it, you're still going to have loads, even on Series X, even on PlayStation 5. So you got games you're like, hey, why am I looking at this black screen? Because it's loading. It's still loading in the RAM, bro. Like, it got to get in RAM. And it's not, you're talking about hundreds of gigabytes per second versus 8 gigabytes per second. One of them is faster than the other. So it's going to take some time for stuff to go from the storage to memory. And if you don't do it all in one go before the game loads, then you got to wait in chunks when you get to a different part that's not in RAM currently.
Right.
That's just the thing. 16 gigs is only so big. And if the game is 100 gigs, guess what? At some point, only 16 gigs of well, not even 16 gigs. I think it's only like 14 available to developers or whatever. So now you got 14 gigs of memory just sitting here, and you still got another 100 plus gigs of the game that you're eventually going to comb through. And how is that going to be presented to you as you play the game? So at some point, everything has to be in RAM for the application to see it. It's not taking stuff off the drive. I mean, you can cache it that way, but it's going to be slow. You want stuff that's in RAM for the game to execute. So especially VRAM. If you have a chunk of VRAM for the video memory for the GPU, it needs that stuff. So all those SRAM blocks have something to write to, and to give information back to the CPU for, hey, we need to update the next frame. We need to update the next frame. We need to do this. We need to do that. All this stuff has a write somewhere. So it just frustrates me because Mark Cerny is the only person that tells you that's how a game is made. And everybody else that you talk to, they give you these arbitrary, well, that'll just give you 30 frames per second, and this will give you that. No, like if you're over budget on that frame time is going to be long, and that's it. That's the end of the story. Like, there's no, oh, well, if you have these settings, then maybe you'll get, no. How was the game made, and was the budget correct for that game, for that certain frame that they're trying to draw? If it takes a lot, then you're gonna have long frame time for that one frame. It'll be 30 milliseconds. It could be as long as 120 or more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it takes that long, then you're waiting for it to catch up. And then the CPU is like, hey, what's going on, GPU? GPU is like, still drawing. CPU is like, wait on the next frame. GPU is like, still drawing. It's just a thing. That's how it works. And every time the GPU is done, it's like, hey, I can send this in memory now. And then the CPU has a request to get it from that same address space that it just wrote to in memory. I'm not trying to nerd out, but I'm trying to like talk about it's so frustrating because you have these conversations with people that want to be technical and tell you about FPS and this and stuff like that. And then I talk like this and then they don't want to talk no more. I'm like, but if you really are technical, then you can have this kind of a conversation. And they don't. So what exactly are we doing here? You just want the thing that looks higher, so the thing that you're talking about looks better to you. And then you win the conversation. I'm talking about how can we make games better for everybody? Because all we're doing now is getting 4K with the same invisible walls.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. Because like, why are we bragging about God of War doing the same thing that Metroid Prime did on GameCube to hide loads?
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be a thing. Like everybody knows. And other games have done it too. Like the Nathan Drake series has done it. Like the Tomb Raider games have done it. Everybody has done it, right? So like all you have to do is talk about, hey, this is a limitation. This is always going to be a limitation, no matter how powerful the hardware is, unless somebody has enough money to say, hey, look, we're building a new console with 12 terabytes of RAM in it. This is always going to be an issue. And the way things are going now, if you build a system with 12 terabytes of RAM in it, there's going to be some game out there that has more than 12 terabytes of storage. And you download that entire game and then you run. Now you got to cache that on the hard drive somewhere too, because it's more than what's in the RAM. That would be prohibitively expensive. Obviously, nobody wants to spend $20,000 for the next console, but that's kind of what I'm saying. It's a chase. It's a cat and mouse game that we'll never get to.
Yeah.
The amount of RAM that's in these consoles now, we could probably have real time ray tracing on if we stayed in 480p, but we're not. So what are we going to do as the requirements keep increasing, as the resolution keeps increasing, the bandwidth requirements and the amount of memory needed is going to keep going up exponentially. And we're not doing that exponentially. We're doing it. We got twice as much RAM. We have 4 times as much RAM, but the resolution just increased 24-fold per frame. Like you're not going to get there. You're always going to be behind. So, but anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox real quick because
oh no, you don't get off easy.
we were talking about game key cards, and I was trying to avoid trashing Digital Foundry, but
I know we still.
That's why we love the Shadowcast, man.
Yeah,
That's why we love it.
We still got more to talk about. So we have a fun little piece in here. I know Shadow said he didn't get the opportunity to see this, so we are gonna throw this on here.
Okay.
It is the Final Fantasy comparison between Switch 2 and PS5. If any of y'all need me to stop at any point in time, just go ahead and say, hold up.
And this week we were blessed with a Final Fantasy VII remake feature and more footage of Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch 2, which is always welcome. We can add that to the stuff that we saw at the Nintendo Direct. And Oliver, at the risk of upsetting the internet again, you've done a comparison between the footage that we saw in this creator's voice video and the PlayStation 5 version running in performance mode.
Oh, you finally found it.
Look at this headset. I've got to say, it's really, really good in terms of the visual feature set. But tell me more about your thoughts there.
Yes, so a couple days ago, Nintendo released a.
I just want to audit the chat real quick. What y'all just saw before, you can go back a frame or so.
Yeah.
I just want to know who can tell the difference.
Right.
Well, actually, the surface level. No, I'm kidding.
Like
the geometry.
Like straight up, can you tell the difference here? Like what?
The only thing I can really see is if you look at the floor where the light is coming through from the truck, it looks a little blurry on the 2 versus the PS5, but that's about all I got.
Yeah.
But that's because it's a freeze frame. If I'm playing the game, I'm not paying that any attention.
Yeah. Freeze the frame. Let me see
The
it.
depth of field is slightly different when you look at that soldier on the right or whatever. But even then, it's like you said, Jack, we ain't playing games to press pause and pixel count. Like
that's wild to me. That's
it's crazy.
So wild.
Yeah.
So this is what they didn't want to show
this-
you because they kept comparing to PS4. They didn't want to because it's PS4 level. So let's hear what they say.
Switch 2 version actually looks really, really good in terms of the visual feature set. But tell me more about your thoughts there.
Yes, so a couple days ago, Nintendo released a 3-minute video of Naoki Hamaguchi,
It wasn't a
who
couple
was
days
the
ago, but
game director for the Final Fantasy VII
They're
Remake
just
series, talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake on Nintendo Switch 2, and it had about a minute and a half of
Bubble bass to me.
presumably taken from Switch 2.
I was just typing you like bubble bass.
And I was able to match about a minute of it or so on PS5 because a lot of it was taken from the early game there.
Had the pickles under
last
his
time we
tongue.
talked about Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch 2,
Oh boy, here we
some
go.
punters in the peanut gallery pointed out that maybe I should have compared the game on Switch 2 to PS5.
Oh, pause.
Hey, my middle name is Peanut Gallery now? Is that what
this is what we doing?
middle name is Peanut Gallery now?
That man said peanut gallery.
He can't talk like that when he looks like Peter Griffin. He can't. Come on, bro. He like.
He did his impersonation. Do it again.
No, I can't. All right, no, my bad, Shavak. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He talking about me, and he's seen my comments on other videos and stuff like that too, and he saw my comment because I got a decent amount of likes when I talked about the frame rating stuff a couple years ago.
Wait. So this is beef,
It's real beef. I think it's real beef.
Hey man, summer on the way.
Look, man,
50 and
my
John
handle is pretty strong. Like you can find it. You can find it. I don't have that many. I don't have that many followers, but you can find me. My videos show up, pop up on posts here and there. So yeah, he'll be all right. That's okay.
Oh snap!
Game Journal Pros though.
Go ahead, Drake him up. Hey, go ahead, Kendrick Lamar him up. I'm right behind you. He ain't like us. He ain't like us.
Like it ain't my fault. This is your job. This is your daily.
Right.
I do this in my spare time, bro.
This is their job, and they still suck at it.
That's crazy. Like Shadow does a video every blue moon, and they do one every week, every day,
almost every day at this point.
It's about daily.
Why is the information wrong?
Part of me wants to say as Eurogamer or IGN, but you know,
right?
These are grown men. I expect them to do better. But
Cyberpunk is definitely not using DLSS.
For real.
Definitely isn't.
They're wrong twice, dude. That in Street Fighter 6. I'm looking like watch them come back and say it is because they're not used to looking at it on bespoke hardware.
Woo. It's rough. All right, continue. I'm sorry. I'm trying to contain myself.
Fair point. Maybe this time I would take a look at the integrated version instead of PS4.
Do you know what's in your cheap protein powder?
No.
That's crazy. That is
so I did PS5 in performance mode. That seemed fairest to me because, native 4K with the quality mode seemed a bit extreme for these comparisons. So that's important to note. But of course, the Switch 2 is targeting 30 FPS here, not 60 FPS, as is the case on PlayStation 5. So if we look at the first set of shots here, the primary difference, and this will be a repeated point, is that the Switch 2 is blurrier than the PS5.
Where?
There's a difference in image clarity. So it's harder to make out fine texture details. In terms of the metrics, I counted out a few shots on Switch 2.
Just a tad bit, but I mean, who's really looking at this?
It's hard to make it out.
What's wrong with
upsampling, nor any particular signs of like DLSS or anything like that. I think this just looks like their regular TAA. The PS5 obviously is at 1512p with TAA, and it looks a lot sharper in these stills. But of course, one thing you have to consider here is the Switch 2 footage is coming from a YouTube rip. Unfortunately, they did not supply a high-quality press asset, so maybe it fares a little bit better if we actually had those high-quality assets. I am looking.
Yeah, about to say that should count then.
So we got to blame. We got to blame the fact that Nintendo didn't send you footage when you're supposed to do your job.
Do your job.
We keeping the foot on their neck the entire generation, by the way.
Yeah.
We keeping the foot on the neck.
We didn't press.nintendo.com didn't have material for us at this point, and I'm like, this is a third party doing this, so maybe you should have reached out to Square.
Yep.
Right.
I don't know. And my other thing is the comparison that I'm talking about. All they did was use YouTube videos too. They did the exact same thing I did when I just showed the Geeky video. I just ripped it from YouTube in 4K, downsampled it to 1080p, and then re-uploaded it. It's not complicated, and I know they do this because they do this for a living and they capture for a living. They do 10, 444, whatever, and they capture videos to compare them frame by frame. So you're gonna tell me you can't do this with a YouTube video too? Because the average layman doesn't know the difference, right? Mm-hmm. But you can still take that same video and show it to people because they're both available, and show them both side by side directly from the same publisher. It's too easy to do, and
it's funny. I like he's going and later in this video, because I seen it later in this video, he's going be hypocritical on what he just said, if you notice.
Yes. The other thing I wanted to point out too is that how they just gloss over that the resolution is not 4K on PS5. This performance mode, so you cut the resolution in half, so now it's 15 something p or whatever instead of 2160p.
Not to mention, I can almost guarantee you, because right now what he mentioned too was the 30 frames per second versus 60. Mm-hmm. I can almost guarantee you we're going to get a quality and performance mode on the Switch 2 as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what you're probably looking at quality.
And I think that's kind of crazy too, because you didn't compare it against quality mode. Show the quality mode so we can see the 30 FPS on PS5.
Yep.
Right. That's what got me disingenuous too. I'm like, well, why are you even making that claim right now? Like, it doesn't make sense.
It's just really strange, right? Like, why wouldn't you do? And that way you get to show the quality, so you can really see the quality increase from PS5 quality mode and Switch 2, because obviously the quality difference isn't the same, or is it?
They don't really know what the targeted performance is,
because they don't.
They just don't. That's why they're gonna just do whatever makes best for their narrative.
And swears is not using DLSS again, like Brand Smith said in the chat. Now, if it turns out to be DLSS, he's gonna be eating crow yet again.
Third time.
There's no way. There's no way, Lois.
It's gonna happen too. Once they put the next, I don't know, sometime probably after the Switch 2 launches, they're gonna, Square's gonna come out, we give the date and more screenshots, direct footage, and 60 frames, and they're gonna be like,
wow.
These are the same people that tried to call Nvidia wrong when they said that the Ampere GPU inside of Switch 2 is 10 times stronger than the Maxwell.
They did try that too.
They really tried to say that they were lying, and I'm like, there's a million different reasons why they would have said that.
Aries, boy, you crazy. Y'all leave Meek Mill alone. He doing all right for himself right now.
Wait, what did he say on Meek Mill? No, that's crazy.
That's wild.
That's crazy. Hey, why you catch me straight like that?
Man, but this is wild to me that they're doing this. Like, so when I say that they other that platform, that brand in general, this is what I mean. It's not like they're just saying this is a shit system. It's the subtle way that they try to, like, quote unquote, make digs. And this is supposed to be the Nintendo guy,
right?
Supposedly, this is supposed to be the Nintendo guy here, and it's like when I hear Rich say, "Well, the takeaway is the Switch is PS4 level." Rich said that he's the guy that's supposed to be all their boss, and he still makes it the point that at the end of the video, this is what we're gonna say.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I never understood that.
This is the whole reason why we do PS4 comparisons.
Yeah, I never understood that. Like, with certain platforms, I rather prefer you be a dedicated channel than to say, like, oh, I have this person to represent this, because they always get peer pressured into saying something they don't want to say.
So now I'm wondering if this guy here, I'm wondering if he was tasked to do that specifically? Like, hey, make sure you compare the PS4 version.
It's possible. Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean,
find everything you can. Find everything.
Now you got me wondering.
How does too bad there? Another issue is that the hair is heavily dithered in both versions, and is basically relying on the TA to clean that up and make it look presentable over time. On PS5, it looks pretty okay. And at 4K on PS5, it looks very clean, I think, actually quite clean. But on Switch, it's rougher here and not as elegant. And it looks okay, but it's a little bit more messy, more like base PS4 there. The depth of field is also shallower in these cutscene shots on Switch, which is maybe a side effect of the resolution difference. Sometimes that scales based on resolution. And as we go through the shots, that's basically the story. Differences in depth of field and in the hair rendering, quality of hair rendering, and then less clarity on Switch 2. But not altogether a bad looking result. It looks pretty good. This last shot has a bit more of a meaningful difference. The shot of the tower there, the Mako Tower, insofar as the smoke is a bit more prominent on Switch, but again, just a little quirk. I don't think it means anything. There's also a bit of pre-rendered video that they showed off here, which is not too surprising. It looks very, very similar on both platforms, so chalk that up as a big win for Switch. No, but it's 1080p 30 video, it looks like, on both platforms, so nothing exceptional there.
Yeah.
But there is one last shot that I do think we need to talk about that is exceptional relative to these other shots.
Okay, I'm preparing you right now. This may be your point number one. Legend of Josh, you kind of hinted at it. This is the ear opening part.
Shots. And that's that classic opening shot of Final Fantasy VII Remake, where the camera pans from Barrett to Cloud, and he jumps off the train and kind of stands up and sheaths his sword behind him. Very iconic shot, very important
Cool
shot.
guy.
Maybe the key shot of that game, right? Very cool shot. That's running at 60 FPS for some reason in the Switch.
For some reason.
Question mark?
Hold on. He gives you the reason why. Here.
Say it looks like they got a 60 FPS mode, and this immediately piqued my curiosity, so I had to download this trailer and see what was going on, and it became pretty evident that this is not Switch 2, because if we pause right at the end of that shot and look at Cloud's hair in the still frame, it's much cleaner on the alleged Switch 2 than PS5 in performance mode, while it's targeting the same 60 FPS. So that doesn't make much sense to me. I strongly suspect that's not Switch 2. In real time, it's not. It's probably PC footage, is my guess, based on how it looks. It's probably high resolution PC footage.
So everything else wasn't.
I don't think that's Switch 2, and I don't think there is. I think this game is probably just going to have a 30 FPS mode, maybe a 40 FPS mode. I don't think it's going to have a 60 FPS mode.
Based on what?
Just because the graphics would be downgraded to a degree that I don't think that Square Enix would want to ship that. But overall, I think this is a really good.
Yeah. Nasty work right there.
So everything that they showed that was at 30 frames was Switch 2, but the time when we see it at 60 is PC. Why would they splice it like that?
You know how Nintendo does.
So I noticed this, right? I noticed this because I noticed that. So the other video that was pretty close to 60 frames per second too was the clip, and they didn't show this part. This is the clip when Tifa goes to sit down with Cloud over the and he sits on the ledge and whatnot in that cutscene. That one was the same frame rate as well. All I can tell you, man, is there's inherent bias here, and the main thing is, what is the average person going to say when they see those side by side? Or you don't even have to. That commercial shows up before a Nintendo logo shows up. Is somebody interested in buying that game? Do they think that that's the remake of Final Fantasy VII? The answer is yes. And this is stuff that you thought wasn't going to run at all, was going to have issues or whatever. Now, look at what you have to do to say, oh, we don't think it's kind of there. Again, I'm going to say this. What's on the left is 9 watts between the CPU and GPU. The PS5 doesn't boot at 9 watts.
Yep. I'm just like, I feel secondhand embarrassment watching them zoom in twice on this Tetsuya Nomura hair design on Cloud to make a very strange point.
Yeah,
that's just bizarre.
Look here, look at the hair.
Hear me out.
The part in between these unrealistic bangs.
What if, because it's a work in progress, right? What if that's one of the scenes that they actually completed and it's not part of a port?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Is He said, just don't make sense to use PC footage randomly.
Because that doesn't make sense. They showed you this entire game throughout this entire time, all Switch 2 footage, and then this one piece PC. Why?
And this is the other thing too. This is a Nintendo sponsored video. This isn't coming directly from Square Enix.
That part.
Nintendo doesn't do that.
Right.
They're not gonna do a creator's choice and be like, "Hey, just put any kind of footage on there."
Nah,
that's what I'm saying. You know how they are. You better show me some Nintendo footage.
Yeah,
don't play around with me.
Running on our dev kits.
That's right.
Like,
that's why
So it's just really so here's the thing. That's a really big accusation.
Yeah,
you better have some evidence to back that shit up.
Mm-hmm. Or you'll be on here again. You'll be on here again. Well, I suspect what we were looking at is pre-rendered was footage from the dev kits for before they actually did the finished work on the system. So now we are here again, and it looks a little bit more cleaner compared to
for some reason.
Right.
The system that's producing a Mario Kart game because they can't do real graphics on it. It just can't. It can't. And the brain just reboots. And I'm like, at max, this system is doing 1440p of this game, right? At max.
Yeah.
That's way less than 4K. Can we just? We keep talking about all these features and stuff like that, and ray tracing and stuff like that. I really want to hammer home that the biggest impact on performance to this day on PC, regardless of how big your GPU is or your CPU is, on any console, resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The difference in resolution is exponentially more important than how much RAM you add to a game, what type of GPU bandwidth you have, or any of these other type of things. Whatever feature you have enabled or what have you, it's resolution. That is the one checkbox that's going to make your system crawl if you set it too high.
Right.
And the Switch, for the most part, is not even aiming at 4K. For the same games that are 4K-ish on the other platforms, you have what we called, sir, a wash.
Mm-hmm.
A wash. This is a highly modern platform. Yes, it's mobile. For all we know, it can have Ada Lovelace and Blackwell instructions in there, which means those shaders are newer than the shaders in your 2019 hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Possible. I mean, yeah, they taped it out in 2021, but NVIDIA had the inside track because it's their GPU. And they talked about this GPU before it launched in 2022. Nintendo already knew they had a custom part coming from them. They're like, hey, whatever your newest thing is, in 2019, they're talking to them, hey, whatever your newest thing is on whatever thing you got, just make sure you give it to us in this low wattage part thing that we're doing. NVIDIA's like, bet. So, I mean, why do you think Nintendo would do a deal with them when NVIDIA was at their lowest point?
Right.
Cool. They have a partner for the next 10 years. How long did the partnership last between AMD and IBM for Nintendo? Right. 3 console cycles.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing this for just one system. They're long haul. They are long haul, long-term profit. That's exactly how they operate. They're not doing this for today. They're not doing this because the investors last fall said we didn't do good enough. They don't care about that. Any investor go in there and say, what are we going to do next quarter to improve? Everybody in the boardroom is going to look at them and say, you're retarded. You must be a Westerner.
Yep.
I ain't mean to be ableist, but no, I'm just, you must be slow. So it's just a strange thing to me. I don't understand why the thinking is like this. But
so I decided to look up some information because I'm surprised that most haven't done this yet. Mm-hmm. This game is also on Steam Deck for PC rather. And there's a channel that does like Steam Deck gaming in general. They try to figure out the best settings to make the game run at its best. So currently, right now, they target 60 frames at 720, high text resolutions, low shadow resolutions, and they're getting anywhere between 45 to 60 frames per second in the game. And that is, and we all know that RAM wise, this is going to be higher. We understand that it's going to be optimized for the system with DLSS. Why wouldn't this get 60?
My other thing is too, where was the vitriol for Steam Deck having such low performance? And then, like, because right now we're talking about 1080p versus 720p, 30 frames per second or whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. But it's consistent. And then you have this one cutscene at 60 frames per second. Like, what? If we could just, I don't know. I guess the crazy thing is we should probably do a video, do some videos with Digital Foundry talking about Steam Deck stuff, and you'll see the 9-day difference. We don't have to do that, but anybody that will go look, you can just see. Mm-hmm. Like, look at the difference between this and that. One portable platform versus another. And you'll see the difference, but it's just strange the way that they table that. So I don't know, man. It's almost like they
game running with some upgrades on PS5, not gigantic upgrades, but some upgrades to lighting, some stylistic and changes to the volumetrics and things like that are quite nice. And it's running at 1080p 30, which is, not that great relative to PS5 at 1512p 60. Not that you would expect it to be, but it's pretty solid relative to PS4, which was also 1080p 30. Again, just preliminary. We have to see the whole game, of course, but like this is so far looks pretty decent. Another decent showing for Switch 2 with kind of like, in that mix with PS4, but also showing, some favorable aspects here in regards to that lighting presentation. As an aside, I did scrounge up a little bit of capture from PS4 as well.
Of course.
And in this shot in the bar, you can see that the Seventh Heaven blackboard is substantially lower resolution on PS4. So it does look like, at least in some areas, we are seeing some of that high resolution art from Intergrade. But to see if that carries across the entire game and all of its texture assets, all of its upgraded texture assets, we'll have to wait for the final game to see. The only caveat is that this is running with poor frame pacing. That was also the case with the earlier showing, which put through our tools. And it was also the case with Crisis Core Reunion a few years back, which was also an Unreal-based game. So they really need to use a different FPS capping method than the one that's built into Unreal, which was presumably the one they're using.
Let's see it put through your tools.
Be fixed. I'm going to be really upset if this isn't fixed. But now the one caveat here, of course, is that on a G-Sync panel in portable mode, this should be fine, right? Hopefully.
Should be fine.
Should be fine, hopefully. But in dock play, potentially without VRR there, not fine, right? Probably not fine. So that's the only caveat here. Performance needs to be fixed. Visuals, though, I think looks great. This is presumably all docked footage, of course. Portable mode, maybe we're getting a cut down to 720p, 648p, something in that range. But I imagine on that screen, scaled up, it'll probably still look pretty good as well. And that would be, an experience that's probably broadly comparable to what you get on like a Steam Deck at 30 FPS. That would probably be a pretty good experience there in portable mode potentially. So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied by this overall, and I think it's a good showing for Switch 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I've got your feeds here. I've actually just synchronized them on Premiere Timeline, and I think overall it looks fantastic. If you've got the feature set by and large of the PlayStation 5 performance mode running at 1080p 30 on a resource-constrained device like the Switch 2, I think that's a major win. I also understand from that video that it looks like they're intent on bringing the whole remake trilogy to Switch 2, right, Oliver?
Yes, that's the other aspect of this. And now, this is very promising in some respects. Obviously, porting FF7 Rebirth would be harder than this game. I imagine quite a bit harder. It's using more advanced features. It has this big open world. It stresses out even PS5 hardware to a considerable degree. If you don't believe me, just look at the image quality in the pop-in. That base PS5 version. It's not so good. Yeah. It's not so good. But I'm actually more curious about what this means for the broader series. Because, you got an FF7R game coming up. FF7 Reunion, possibly. Which is just my guess on the name. But FF7R something, right? And presumably that game is now penciled in for Switch 2. Does that mean they're going to continue with UE4? Instead of switching to UE5? Because maybe you would not want to commit to a Switch 2 port of that game if you did not feel 100% confident, even, implied port of Switch 2.
Once again.
So now they're doing a thing again where they're trying to weave in stuff. Like they're trying to say, your project is in Unreal Engine 4, so maybe you don't want to use Unreal Engine 5. Like everybody in the development community by far says if you have a UE4 project, just port it to UE5.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The tools are way scalable. It's way easier to manage your project from beginning to end using UE5. Why would they even say anything like? Because here's the thing: what just happened there was a dog whistle.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're trying to tell you is, hey, UE5 equals a certain level of quality. Fortnite is UE5.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what engine they use. It's what quality and what type of textures they want to throw up at frame at a time. Like it's not even.
It's like they try to use it like a graphical standard.
Yes. And that's what frustrates me. So when you hear these things, and please believe they're saying this, and guess what's going to happen? Now these comparisons are going to happen, and they're all over social media now. Now you got insert random account name here saying, well, it can't even do UE5 level stuff. And the full UE5, it can't run it kind of situation. And I'm like, Unreal Engine is just a tool. It's not a benchmark.
All right.
It's not a benchmark. You can... So when Yoshi's in Unreal Engine 5, what are we going to say? Oh, that's just a Yoshi game. It's not...
You know that's how it's going to go.
Exactly what they're going to say.
Exactly how it's going to happen.
It's just wild to me, man. Like, the technology is there. Mm-hmm. It's... You can't say magically, oh, well, since they use this tool, that's why it was able to work on Switch 2. Unreal Engine 5 works on Switch 1. Mm-hmm. What do we even... How is this? I'm sorry. You can continue. My bad. That's like the dumbest thing. Like, and I hate that because what that is doing, is festering their audience. Mm-hmm. And anybody else that that points to them as a reference or anything like that. And let's not also forget that they just got picked up by IGN.
Yep.
Yeah, mm-hmm. That's very recent. Mm-hmm.
Now they're old forum goers and everything else. They're seeing these videos embedded in IGN articles. Mm-hmm. And I've already seen it done. So I know this is happening there. They are a weapon. They always have been a weapon, but they were largely used third-party ad hoc from other places here and there. Now they're inside of another large media corporation that owns various other outlets. It's a conglomeration now of multiple different outlets now. So now you might hear about how the Switch 2 can't do certain things in a gym magazine.
Yeah.
Of all things now. So now people that don't even play games have already heard, hey, we don't think the Nintendo platform can do this thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man,
it's a cold game. It's
it's a real cold game. But we know what it is, right? And here's the thing.
Yep.
Nintendo doesn't pay for ads.
Mm-mm.
So they don't have to worry about Nintendo coming after them or Nintendo saying, you know what, we're not gonna give you an ad this week because Nintendo doesn't do that. They'll just make a YouTube video and put it out there. Or they'll do a TV spot or something to that effect. They're not gonna have a full page spread on IGN with all these icons on the left and the right saying buy this game or what have you. No Gerstmann gate from Nintendo. So that's the thing where it's going to be, and that's kind of why this always was a thing going all the way back to the 6th generation. That's when third parties got corrupt, because now they know if they could have a message that says, "Hey, look, this threat to our business strategy," and the reason why I say threat to a business strategy is, imagine if you could buy every game on one platform. Would you have a need to have another platform?
Nope.
No.
It's increasingly look like no.
Mm-hmm.
So they know, and they know this. This is what they have to protect, right? Because what we can't do is every major game that was known to be on a Sony platform or Microsoft platform or even PC at this point is now all available on Nintendo Switch. And depending on the resolution, you can't tell the difference.
Right.
The average person can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Hell, they can't tell the difference.
Yeah. Like I said, right now, I mean, the only thing that's cool is Sony's game.
So but I'm just some YouTuber in my chair, man, because I don't have a gaming chair. I have an actual office chair because I'm not sponsored. Also because better lumbar support because they do studies and corporations pay for them. So you buy the thing that the fat cats with money sit in instead of something that's sponsored by Monster. But that's but that's that's the other thing too. That's the whole other thing too. When you look at these, it's just the look, everything. The cameras, the placement of the mic has to be directly there. And YouTube is the part of YouTube is the you part at the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's different. Everybody does their own thing or whatever. Some people do this whole thing. Hey, I have headphones on, guys. Hey, my mic's right in front of me, guys. Yeah. I'm going to talk to you in this slow monotone voice and slowly program you. I got my key lights over here, and it's all. I understand that, right? Could I do that? Yes, I could if I want to, but I actually want to live also in the room that I record from. Like, I think that's the other part they don't tell you about YouTube. They don't tell you about these professional YouTube sites anyway. But they all have this look. They all have the same racing / gaming chair.
Yep.
They really do, man.
Dang, you calling me out?
No.
It's different for you.
No, because a corporation didn't tell you to do it.
Right.
True.
A corporation didn't tell you to do it. Also, and if you were sponsored, then that's one or two sponsors versus if they don't do this and they have another chair behind them, they have a lawsuit now because they promised that they were going to do this for 2 to 3 years or whatever.
Fact.
Why are you holding up a Sprite can? You're supposed to be holding up Coke.
Right.
You're the same company. We don't care.
Keep it outside.
Yeah, that's real. Yep.
So that's one of the things, man. So they don't talk about that kind of stuff. Other things too they don't tell you is it takes about 4 PCs to stream.
Yeah.
And record effectively. If you got a game, you need one that's going to show your overlays for everything that you got doing. You need another separate computer just to keep up with stats. You need another computer to do the recording and another one to do the broadcasting.
That's facts. Yep. To maintain the best quality.
The best quality. Yeah.
Because if you want 4K, like it's not happening. Not live. It's not happening. No. And they don't tell you that either. They're just like, hey, you can get started. Just buy this USB mic. Like, no, no, that's not it. You need equipment to do what they do. But if you just get a check for $2 million and they already bought your studio for you because you're a plant, then it's easy. It's easy for you to get in.
PSYOP.
Yeah. We need you to say this for 2 years and then we'll retire you. But I just want people to see that it's
5 running in it.
It should not be in this industry, but it is, and it's been for at least a decade. Sorry, go ahead.
In a competitive form on Switch 2, right? Which where we don't have solid visual evidence of so far in the games that we've surveyed. Perhaps you can cut it a bit, but can you cut it far enough while still looking decent? That's kind of a question. And then also, the Final Fantasy VII producers were talking about, we want to get the next game out quickly, and we're interested in adopting UE5 if it helps with that effort, but you'd think, well, if you're switching engines, it would get more slow. So again, there are a few factors that maybe point you in the direction of UE4 being a more prominent possibility there relative to UE5 for that next generation effort, for that next title, which is probably coming out in the next 3 or 4 years there. But personally, I am hoping they do adopt UE5 despite that, just because it would fix like the horrible pop-in issues that afflict Rebirth. Right. It would fix the poor indirect lighting. It would fix the poor shadow map quality. UE5 solves so many rendering issues that game has. It's like unbelievable, even though it's not obviously well suited for an open world title. It's like purpose built almost to fix every problem in Rebirth from a rendering perspective. If the trade-off is only that it runs at 30 FPS or 40 FPS and that it doesn't maybe appear on Switch 2 or it appears on Switch 2 in a very degraded form, I'm personally fine with that. I kind of want the series to end on a graphical high point, to be a really special visual experience, and I don't think UE4 is going to give that to you at the moment, given what they achieved with Rebirth. Because I thought Rebirth was kind of a visual disappointment. Like, there's some really great high points with the cutscenes, but oh man, that open world did not look so flattering, even relative to the prior series entry. So that's my only thought, is that maybe this has some implication for what they'll do with the third game, even though I am hoping it is UE5, to the chagrin of people who would like a more stable experience, especially on PC and 60 FPS and whatnot. But Yeah, that's one other detail, but I think it is cool. They're committing to bringing this game to more players. I'm really excited to check this out. I'll be excited to check out Rebirth when that comes out, and possibly the third game in that series when it comes out on Switch too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anything to add to that, Alex?
I'm curious about what developers.
No, don't let Alex talk.
He don't need to talk during anything non-PC.
He's a Nintendo hater.
Alex is the worst.
He's PC Master Race.
Yeah,
and that's fine. Just stay in your lane, bro. Just stay in your lane.
You ain't got nothing to say.
Right. Do about these games that run at 1080p in dock mode, if they're going to be doing 4K HUDs at all, or 1080p just rendering and then 1080p and let the console upscale it, because I think maybe the Switch's memory actually would allow, and a lot of engines do allow for the double, triple scale internal, where it's like rendered everything out, then do the HUD afterward. And a lot of these, honestly, a lot of Japanese games do not use diegetic HUDs.
There we go.
Sorry, I hate to drag this out, but this guy clearly has not played a Xenoblade game.
Of course not.
No, he hasn't. He's a PC guy.
Especially this dude right here. Like anytime they talk about Nintendo, he has the most stank look on his face.
Yep.
It seems like he hates talking about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
it
that's
might be.
natural.
He probably has a resting face. Yeah.
He's the same as the guy from I can't think of that guy's name that does all the tech reviews. I can't think of his name right now. I don't know, skinny guy, but he's got an Asian wife. I can't think of his name, but anyway, but he really he makes it a point to say how much he hates Nintendo, but he's gonna buy a Switch. I'm like, if you hate Nintendo,
for his job, Shadows, for his job,
tax write-off.
Yeah, killing me. But this guy here, if you've played pretty much any Japanese game on base Switch right now, you can clearly see that the UI is straight up 1080p, crisp as hell. It in whatever the game is rendered at, that's whatever that could be negligible, or in a UE4 instance, right? Even in UE4, because you're worried about that. This game is using this engine, right? So in the Shin Megami Tensei, you have full 1080p UI, and you have dynamic resolution for what's going on in the game on screen. So it'll go up and down as it needs to and do whatever, and the UI is still crisp. So I don't know what he's thinking, that for whatever reason the resolution is going to be marred by what's happening on screen. The UI is rendered separately in a bunch of Japanese games already. It's not an American only thing. I don't know what he was thinking there. That's just like a really, really dumb argument to make if you're a PC. And that's the other thing too. Like there's a ton of PC games that he probably doesn't play that are really popular overseas. They also do the exact same thing, regardless of what resolution you set your engine at. You can set your UI to a separate resolution as well. So it's just a real odd take for him to make. But you press play. I'm sorry, that frustrated me.
Oh, it gets better.
Pretty rare to actually see that. Potentially, probably because they actually have to constantly be changing the character set really easily for all the other marks the game is brought into. So I think it actually probably would benefit a game like this quite a bit to have a 4K HUD for like the damage, etc., and then run the game at 1080p, because otherwise I think even on a modern set, 1080p just flat upscaled wouldn't be too hot for the docked experience. So I would hope devs consider that. Maybe they will.
These people act like they actually built the game themselves.
I don't. The fact that he's trying to push is, will the HUD be for? Like, that's just a frivolous, like, arbitrary thing to even attempt to bring to the table that discussion. Like it doesn't. To me, it doesn't make sense to have the game itself running at 1080p, whether it's AI upscaled, base resolution or anything, and then have the HUD in 4K. Just keep it all at 1080p or whatever the actual image, resolution is. That's just a waste of. I think it's a waste of resources, in my opinion.
I think he was just forced to talk.
Yeah. What do you think, guy who sat there for 25 minutes straight?
Didn't say a word. Speak up.
Contribute in some way, sir.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they'll even ask him, and in times he'll be like, I got nothing. And then they'll laugh, and he'll be like, okay, so I do have to say something. And they're like, You didn't really have to say anything. You could.
You really didn't. But what's interesting, like if you look at all three channels, being IGN, Gamer, and Digital Foundry, like the other two outside of Digital Foundry are actually doing like interviews and doing other actual pieces to where they're looking at YouTube videos and trying to do breakdowns from random footage that they haven't seen and or played the games of.
Yep.
Like it's almost like they have them doing the dirty work at this point, and it doesn't make any sense. Because my thing is, if I'm Digital Foundry, there are games that have released, there are, you know, things that are happening within the gaming space that I can talk about, opposed to this and just wait until it comes out and then test it out yourself, because we still don't even have a date on Final Fantasy VII Remake yet. So what we're seeing now, much in the same vein as Cyberpunk, can change drastically after they continue to work on it.
Yeah, that's facts.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think the strangest thing to me with this is that they're trying to hide the football when we already knew this what time they were on during the entire Switch generation. Actually, going all the way back to Wii U, to be honest with you, they would give like props to like indie developers like Shannon and stuff like that. But anytime there was a multi-platform review, they made it a point. Like this is kind of how they got their bread and butter money, really, because they came up out of the forums on Eurogamer and they gave them money, said, "Hey, start making these videos," and all they kept doing was making videos of Wii U footage, making it look bad. And they're comparing it to 360 and PS3. A lot of times they did not compare it directly to PS3 because the PS3 versions were pretty bad a lot of the time. They lacked a lot of color, so they would like just show the 360 version and stuff like that, and then they had a situation where they were the Need for Speed game on Wii U was literally using the PC assets and engine.
Oh yeah, most funny. Yeah.
So obviously it was going to be superior everywhere around. So they start pointing out stuff on the 360 version, look how quickly this loads on the 360 version. It's lower quality. Of course, it's going to load quicker. Like the type of stuff that they try to point out way back then. We're talking about 2012, man. The carrot never left the stick. And I don't know why anybody didn't really see. I feel like I'm the only person in the room screaming about this because, like, I've seen this from the beginning. Like, why are y'all being like that? Like, if you. And the other thing is, like, the stuff that they should have been showing, if that was the case, they're going to be truly objective. And this is the reason why I bought 3 versions of this game, is show Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge on all 3 platforms. That game was built for Wii U in mind. How does that look on 360 and PS3? They never did that. They never did that, by the way. They never did that comparison. If you go, actually, it's kind of hard to find anywhere. I think one YouTuber did it like maybe a year ago, so you know it didn't happen back then.
Yeah.
So it's just the type of stuff that when they need to, when call a spade, right? Say this Call of Duty version is bad on Wii U for whatever reason, blah blah blah. But then this version here, it has this, and you can play on the gamepad at the exact same time. Like that's really kind of cool, and you call that out or whatever. And then when a bad port shows up, like what's the name of the Zelda-like game with the demons and whatnot? I can't think of the name of it right now off the top of my head. But it was a launch game, and it was the sequel came out first, and then the Darksiders, right? So Darksiders 2, hey, it has some glitches in some areas. The resolution's kind of bad in some areas or whatever. When you go into the open world, the frame rate chops and stuff like that. Cool, show that. That's fine, right? That's truthful.
Yep.
My thing is when you purposely try to hide flaws of one and then always show flaws of the other.
Right.
Like, why are you doing that? Why are you, like, we already know that Wii U is superior to those other 2 platforms, right? You're gonna wait until PS3 and PS4 show up to start comparing other games when the other games for other platforms were clearly not there as far as compared to Wii U goes, and then you completely ignore those comparisons and wait until 2013. That was odd to me. Then they didn't show the 360 and PS3 versions after that anymore. It was all PS4, Xbox One, and Wii U, and they did that for an entire year, and they kind of stopped altogether. So when I see that, then I see going to Switch, they make sure to show you a really bad port. They make it a point to show you a really bad port over and over again. And then when it comes to a good port, they still list all the concessions that were made. Hey,
Right.
you know what? This PS4 game got ported to Switch, and it's 1080p, and on PS4 it was 900p. Oh yeah, they had to cut one thing here in this frame and one thing in that frame, and it's 1080p 30. On this system, it's 900p 30. You can say that, right? That's cool. You don't have to add all these, because you didn't add all those extra explanations when it didn't suit the agenda at the time. So don't do it here either, or do it all the time. I'm just saying, keep it. Whatever you're doing, make sure you keep doing it. I want to see all these same concessions when there's a bad PS5 version of the game. Like, obviously, the base version of the PS5 playing the Final Fantasy, whatever, it has frame rate drops, right? Are we talking about those in comparison to this? We're not at all. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. And I just if they stay consistent with it all the way through, that would I would feel a lot more welcoming to their content. But when you start to see the forest for the trees with them, it gets really frustrating to the point where you can predict some of their reactions, and that's bad.
Yeah.
It should not be like that.
Yeah.
So
Shadow.
Yes, sir.
I know you talked about this in your video that you just had, but how do you feel about these specs, good sir?
The ones that got put up.
Yeah. The official Nintendo.
Oh, okay. The official Nintendo ones it's a custom GPU by NVIDIA. That's
Enjoy Mario Kart World.
I don't know why it's so weird, because I had people on Twitter telling me that Nintendo released the specs to Digital Foundry, and then in Digital Foundry's article they link to those same specs on Nintendo's site that say nothing.
Right.
And then they still say Nintendo gave us the specs. I'm like, how? We got a leaked SDK. Oh, okay. Where'd the leaked SDK come from? A forum user on Family Boards who leaked it 4 months ago, and he still didn't say what his source was. Where's the SDK at? Is it on the internet anywhere? Can I grab that? Is it on GitHub? Because the Switch SDK is out. Like, you can go download that if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the Wii U one is too, believe it or not. So like, where's the Switch 2 one then, if that's the case? Like, you got all this data from there. Like, so you got you know how much RAM is allocated. You know how many cores are available. Source, please, sir. We need that.
Right.
We can't just, not saying we can't just trust you. No, I'm right. We can't just trust you, because you're just press effectively at this point. IGN hired you. You're press. You're journalism. You're journalist. Even though
definitely
you don't like the Hippocratic Oath, but you're journalist.
Yeah.
So how I feel about the specs, right? Let's say they're true. Okay. So you got 6 CPU cores available to developers, and 2 are available to the OS. Really strange decision for Nintendo, if that's true, right?
Right.
Them taking 3 gigs for the OS as well is also very strange, because the whole point was for the OS to be smoother but still lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
If we got 3 gigs of then I'm like, where are all the themes? Where's all the other stuff and all that? We're taking up this much RAM in the background while games are running. What are we doing? Like, I need to see where all this is going, if that's the case, unless you're just using RAM to stage updates and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to the clock speeds that they still can't get unless you have an actual working Switch 2 system, so you know what the voltages are, because they didn't release the voltages, they just said the clock speeds. Okay, so what's the voltages then? Because that you would be able to confirm that, right? Those clock speeds, they kind of, really the clock speeds are higher than what I expected. With the exception of the CPU, I expected the CPU clocks to be a little bit higher. But that's going to depend, and Nintendo may change that over time, depending, to make load times faster and stuff like that. Kind of like how they did with Switch, just do it temporarily.
Right.
I did not know it got that high. I thought it was like maybe 1.5 gigahertz or something like that. They clocked it all the way up to 1.7, 1.8 in some cases, depending on the game, to make the loads faster temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them doing that for Switch 2. I just don't. Honestly, I don't see the benefit, because at some point the power envelope is going to make things to where, hey, I want this performance, but now I'm playing games for 30 minutes, and we don't want that. So whatever kind of boost that we get, they need to be like temporarily. I'm talking about like less than a second or two. So it sips power accordingly, because you can't be in a situation where out of the box this thing is less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that's feasible, because that's not Nintendo's audience. Steam Deck has that like well under control. If you want to play 30 minutes or less, you hop on that Steam Deck, and unless you got the game configured correctly, that's what you're going to end up with, depending on what game you're playing.
Right.
But so far, if everything is true based on what they say is out there, I'm thoroughly impressed based on what they were able to do given the time that they had and how long this has been baking. Because Nintendo they're really, really good at stress testing what they have. So, and that's kind of why they go low wattage so much and go low clock so much, because they want to make sure, like, you could pick up a Switch off the ground that got ran over and it'll still play a Mario game. Like, it should be that thorough as far as the motherboard goes anyway. Not necessarily the hardware. We know the screen's gonna crack and stuff like that. But if the actual hardware was in a steel cage, like it's not shaking up or whatever, and it'll still be durable enough to go, no matter how many scratches it gets or whatever. That's the test of time that they focus on, and they make sure their repeated cycles of turning it off and on again and stuff like that stays unchanged. Which is, kind of like the demo that ended up being a Super Mario Odyssey with the fish and whatnot on the original Switch. It's a burn-in test to show how many triangles can be processed at one time, to test basically hundreds of thousands of SoCs going through testing before assembly. So, yeah, man, I'm not surprised by what I see technically, and I'm not upset about any of it either. But I also know that it could be invented too, because this stuff was leaked a long time ago. And so while the SoC was leaked, know that those speeds and feeds for those original leaks came from manifest documents and developer documents and stuff like that, right? At that time, active development was still going on for the SDK as well. So a lot of that stuff that was leaked, we don't know whether it's final or not. And it could be final, but it could have been final for the development kit and not necessarily the retail thing that's in the box that you're going to buy.
I believe it was final for the SDK at that point.
Yeah, which could be correct. So like I would just say at this point, I would take that stuff with a grain of salt and go from there. If it's 100% accurate for everything that's on the shelf, great. It kind of still doesn't matter, because it's up to who makes the game and utilizing what's in front of them. Yeah. And the best thing about Switch 2 is it's like Switch 1. It's a locked target that everybody can develop on. So, and if we're getting games that look as well as they do, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with it. My entire point was, the only thing I wanted the Switch 2 to do was make pretty Nintendo games, basically.
Yeah.
At this point, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is a bonus. So if you're talking about now, you got third-party support and doing things that either weren't possible on Switch or were difficult for developers to do on Switch. Oh, we really struggled importing Witcher 3 because we really didn't want to get rid of these CPU runtime things that could have been handled on a DSP. Cool. Now you have the extra headroom to throw your janky code on there, which is, that works too. So, and with them working directly with Nintendo on their first game, maybe we can see some better ports of Witcher games on Switch 2 as well. Yeah. Because now they're really in there. Instead of Nintendo just saying, hey, well, we'll pay for the cart, but you got to do all the porting, and they were struggling. Now they got to work with Nintendo from the ground up with SDK and everything to work on this Cyberpunk game. So maybe if they decide to go back and port some of the other games, they'll be a lot better for it, I think, for that too. And they're probably one of the worst with regards to supporting Nintendo hardware anyway, because they kind of go from a PC as a baseline, and it's really tough to really throw that across every platform. Even the Xbox and Sony consoles is really hard for them to go back and shoehorn that stuff in. So you talk about a Nintendo platform is going to be even tougher. The other third parties, they're chasing whatever success that Switch had, and they know they missed a big window, so they're running in hot. Mm-hmm. So we got these game key cards, and there'll probably be a lot of those the first year, and maybe if they decide to not be cheap, once they see a lot of them sold or didn't sell well because of backlash, they'll actually invest. So
one thing I wanted to point out as well, and Shadow could probably talk better about this, is you'll see a lot of people, especially on Twitter, talk about these revealed specs and how Digital Foundry said that it was equivalent to a 3050 and how a 3050 was trash on the laptops and all that other stuff. Laptops versus PCs, and especially versus hybrid consoles, are completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wattage wise, you're looking at wattage wise, you're even looking at optimizations and stuff like that. A console versus a PC is completely different.
So the other thing I'll say too about having a system on a chip, right? The inherent benefits that you get from that is instantaneous anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have direct access to memory, you have direct access to cache, you have direct access to the basically there's no south bridge needed because the GPU and the CPU are literally on the same substrate. Mm-hmm. So they can talk directly to each other. You don't have to worry about any of this signal stuff that you have to deal with, or IRQs and stuff like that on like a laptop. That CPU and that GPU are nowhere near each other, and they have a bus that, they retrofitted PCI to work on laptops, and you're gonna have timing issues. You're gonna have latency issues. You're gonna have issues where something in the game is calling something that's not there because you paged it differently in RAM or whatever. The GPU is expecting one thing, the CPU is expecting one thing, and now we got errors and you're waiting on that to correct. That's a lost frame.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to worry about that if, hey, every driver for every Nintendo Switch GPU SoC is up to date. Every CPU driver is up to date. The libraries for the CPU are up to date, and they're always expected. There are no libraries that you have to go and get or add as part of your game package. All of that stuff is already there. So all those differences are drastic when it comes to that versus any type of consumer or anything. Anything when you have like the difference between resolutions being literally playing around with a driver, like that lets you know right then and there how drastic things are with regards to developing directly for a target platform. And everything being within one SoC as well is also a benefit because it's instantaneous. So, but yeah, I will say that's definitely a benefit. Laptop is not going to be the same. You're going to get significantly more. We're not even talking about the OS overhead at this point. We're talking about just how fast that SoC talks versus a CPU over here, a GPU over here, random RAM in here that we haven't confirmed. Like every time we boot up, we don't know what this is, and we got to check it. Like that stuff is a big difference between a regular PC or laptop or what have you and a custom console.
Sorry, had to say goodnight to baby Sandstorm.
No problem. I think the only thing that was the only thing I really had on the docket for that, and I was trying not to roast Digital Foundry, but it was really.
Listen. With the
I can do that.
With the comparisons of the Final Fantasy stuff, I'm like, ooh, this is juicy.
They trying too hard, man. They trying way too hard, and it doesn't have to be like that. So should we just tell our audience, don't grain of salt? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah,
that's pretty much what I would say for that. There's not too much further I need to really say from there. So
if you want more details on exactly what Shadow's talking about, definitely check out the last video. It was a Shadowcast, wasn't it?
No, it was a video, but it was called After the Switch 2 Storm. So if you watch that video, it's me going over Geeky. I can't think whatever his full YouTube name is, but he was the original leaker that bought the Switch 2
or something like that.
Yeah. So he did that, and then a couple of YouTubers tried to rush and release a video, and he wasn't speaking in English, and it was like a strange watch. So I'm like, I'm gonna wait until he does English, because usually when he does something this big, it's gonna be in English, and it popped up, and I grabbed it immediately. So I went through that and just kind of broke it down when I needed to explain what was going on, because there were some mistakes that he made, and there were some mistakes that I made actually, and hopefully I cleared up some of that tonight. But it just needed a lot of stuff that people would take and it'll just run with it because they watch this video and they don't understand the stuff that they were looking at. So I just want more people to understand exactly what you're holding in your hands when you play a video game, and a lot of times it's not what some people tell you. And a lot of times they condition you to want to think things that you don't even have to think about.
Exactly. Like I was just about to ask the same question. Just about to ask him the same question.
Yeah. So we can throw out some of these questions. I'll start from the bottom and make my way up. But Lek asks Shadow, what do you think about Nintendo not giving media the Switch 2?
I think it's a masterclass, actually.
Very smart.
Because the goal is right. And here's the thing. We're talking about all this stuff and we're complaining about Digital Foundry doing all this stuff and everything else, right? Meanwhile, it's not just Nintendo videos, because they're gonna do their own propaganda, right? But there's other videos of people that just went to the Nintendo event and had a blast. They're not over here counting frames. They're not, they're just glad that this game is on their Nintendo platform.
Yeah.
And they're loving being able to just be, hey, I took it off the dock and I was able to play it. I was playing it and I just switched and now I'm able to use a mouse. Just like, they love how instant that is and how well that works. So I would say that is one of the reasons why Nintendo is giving them, and it's probably the final middle finger too, from decades long trashing that gaming media has done when they got entitled. So for people that don't know, back in the day, E3 didn't used to be free. So you had to either subscribe to a gaming website at the time that would either give you video access, or even before that, they give you like links to newsletters that they had internally with interviews and stuff like that, and behind the scenes footage if you're able to download it at the time if you had the bandwidth. But back then it used to be behind a paywall. Back then, and press had exclusive rights to a lot of that stuff. So they would do interviews and stuff like that, and before you got the interview, they would alter the translation to give it to you. So you don't even know what Nintendo's saying in response, like that kind of stuff. And they'll take stuff out of context that they said. All that kind of stuff used to happen back then, and you paid for that, right? Then became the time where, hey, you go on stage and do a live presentation and it's actually on the internet. Even then, they do that live presentation, and then right after it, Gaming Press gives their impressions. And if you're shopping your console to stores, which is what E3 was for at the time, like you're talking to retailers to figure out how you're going to get your product on shelves. If Gaming Press is already down talking your system before it gets to store shelves, now we've got a problem. This is part of why Wii U had such a bad, like a lot of people say, oh, Wii U is bad and the commercial is bad, blah, blah, blah. No, people had a bad taste about Wii U before it even launched.
Correct.
Yep, that's facts.
People don't want to admit that, but I tell people all the time, well, people didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know blah, 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 blah. Like, how long did you feel that way? And they start saying, oh, blah, blah, blah. So before it came out, I wonder where that came from.
Right.
And we already did that long video, Sandstorm, where we already talked about the man who shall not be named who came up with this, and it never went away.
No.
To this day, people are like, well, was Wii U an add-on to the Wii? Like,
yeah, that was so stupid.
What in the 2011 are we talking about? In 2025?
Yeah.
So and so that kind of stuff, and so Nintendo saw the writing on the wall and said, you know what? We don't need Gaming Press anymore. That's when Nintendo Directs came around. And when that happened, what did Gaming Press do in response? They lashed out. So they started saying, oh, well, Nintendo can't compete on stage, so they're doing this thing. Like, this happened. And so what they did to cover themselves so they couldn't be sued, they said it on the podcast of Gaming Press.
Mhm.
They didn't make articles about it. They went on individual podcasts and talked that way. Said podcasts are really hard to find, by the way. If you go back on those websites, anything from 2012 to 2013 is really hard to find right now. You can find everything before
somebody else.
They scrubbed it.
Yeah.
Can't call it no RSS feeds or anything.
So all this stuff, I don't know if Nintendo told them to take it down. I don't know if they did it to save face, but it's gone. And the only reason I have some of them is because I still have an iPod that works. So, it's just odd that back then at the time that everybody was in on it. And when I say, hey, there was collusion, hey, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, I'm not an idiot. And I listened to Perrin Kaplan actually say it in an interview a couple of years ago. She said this back during the GameCube days. She was hearing these talks saying, third parties don't want you here. They want you out of the picture. We don't take you seriously. She was saying that back then. We're talking about 1999 to 2001.
Right.
So yes, there was a concerted effort then at the time. At least, I don't know how long it lasted, but at least 2001 for a good considerable period of time, Gaming Press and third parties did not want Nintendo around. One of the producers, more of a media guy more than anything else. Y'all know who JP Kellums is?
Yes.
Okay, so he was a press guy for and a publishing guy for Platinum Games. He gave a talk talking about Bayonetta 2. And all other gaming publishers and developers and stuff were in the audience as he was talking to them. And somebody asked about why won't Bayonetta 2 show up on other platforms. He said, you got to talk to Nintendo. They published it, and we're happy to work with them. And you guys should probably reach out to Nintendo if you want to see what kind of deals they can work with you to work on their platform. He was laughed out of the room.
Yeah.
I don't know if that video is still up. I've been trying to search for it for the past couple of years, but I remember seeing it when it happened. It's crazy work, but this is literally what was happening behind the scenes all the time.
Yeah.
So Nintendo's taking this information in, and they're like, "We don't need you."
Yeah.
Nintendo directs, and then go from there. They eventually start laughing, and then they start getting scared.
Very.
Because now Sony's doing them.
Everybody's doing them.
Everybody does.
Everybody. Shoot, Apple even. It's crazy.
The last couple E3s were just a bunch of digital, presentations.
That's it.
Yeah.
Given, outside reasons, but still it happened.
So now, Shadow, to add on to your point, which I agree with, do you feel like Nintendo's response to this statement is of some, I guess, like, is there going to be something substantial that we're going to see day one? Because they said that it was due to this huge day one patch that they have to put on the system.
You think the backlash is because of that? Or
no. I'm saying like this is what you just said, valid, 100%.
Yeah.
But I also feel like them making the statement of, hey, the reason why we're also not doing it, because they don't want to come out and say, hey, look, this is what y'all did, so this is why we're doing this. Do you feel like it's a PR spin, or do you think there's some truth to, hey, look, there's this big nasty patch that we got to do that's probably going to add some feature set that we don't know about, or just going to make everything run the way it needs to day one?
I won't ever say there isn't a case where both could be true at the same time.
Okay.
So that may be the case, and there was some negative backlash about 512 megabytes being downloaded on Wii U day one. That really odd to me. It took me all day to download this day one update. I looked at the size and I was just like,
512 megabytes?
Yeah. 512 megs in 2012. And I'm like, I got gigabit Ethernet. It's done. It's already done.
I was in Alaska and I didn't take that long to download because Alaska at the time internet was slow.
Yeah, so I that was just wild to me that happened. So that Nintendo doesn't forget things like that either. So it could be a little bit of mix of that too. So they're like, hey, well, we got some stuff pending. day one, and what system doesn't have a day one update anyway nowadays?
Right.
So,
Five did. Both Xbox Series did.
Because the way I looked at it too, you know, because we saw the complaints of, hey, you know, we have to do Summerfest along with this, and then of course, you know, people are going to want to see the games, the reviews or whatever. My takeaway from that is, if you look at all games except for what Mario Kart and Fast Fusion, everything else has a review already.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to see it run, I think most will go to content creators before they would ever go to IGN to see how it actually runs. I mean, you got people running a Digital Foundry all the freaking time, so they'll see it then anyway. But if my whole thing is pitching Mario Kart, you really can't review it anyway, because the biggest spin is online and nobody's gonna have it if I give it to you early. So what is the point? Because I don't know a single reviewer that when they do review these games early and they say, hey, look, we couldn't test out multiplayer because nobody else has it, they don't go back and re-review the game.
Nope.
They just leave the review as is.
Yeah.
So if there are issues with online, then they'll go back and say something, but they won't ever go back and re-review it just to go over the online. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So there's with that part, right? So there's a little bit of that as well, and the only issue I have about that is, like, why do you care? What's the rush? Why don't you just get the game on day one and then review it after that? Well, then we'll miss out. What are you going to miss out on if all the press isn't getting it? Right. You're all going to release around the same time anyway.
Yeah.
So
you know what's wild with that too is that it's funny how and even with I would say more so with Digital Foundry over anybody, which kind of really blows my mind now that I'm saying it out loud. But like, why are you rushing to come up with all these analysis of games and all that other stuff, and you already have a fan base? Like,
there
so
you go.
At the end of the day, most people who like believe everything that Digital Foundry says, the first thing they're gonna say, whether it's me, whether it's Shadow, whether it's Super Metal Dave, anybody, the first thing that they're gonna say is, well, we're gonna have to wait until Digital Foundry looks over it so we can get the clear. So like, why are you rushing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can wait till day one. Those views, those likes, that conversation are all going to be there. You don't need to rush it.
I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. You ready? They fear that they'll be irrelevant.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Here's the reason why. You can't beat crowdsourced millions of people around the world getting through the game before you do. And then reviewing it and talking about it. Because if somebody no-lifes it, it's way faster than you can as a publisher. Even though it's your job and you're paid to do it, if some no-lifer gets out there and gets a better review before you do, and it's more accurate and their fan base is bigger than yours, there's no need for anybody to go to you. That's what they figure. They want that exclusive cutoff date to where nobody else has the information that they have.
Embargoes.
Well, here's the thing.
Embargo.
Man, that's the crazy part about it, because if you were genuine and you had quality product, you wouldn't have nothing to worry about.
There you go.
You know what? I'll hold off and I'll see what IGN has to say before I do anything. And the same thing goes for a lot of them, because for
clip this
right now, I go to 2 reviewers and they've been solid. Like, since I started watching them, that's Game Ranks and then also ACG. Like, they go into detail and they will tell you, they don't give scores. They just say, hey, before you buy, either you buy it now, wait for a deep sale, or just skip it. So, and they'll explain to you why. Like, hey, we just think it's not ready right now. Just give it some time and we'll come back to it. But yeah, I mean, if you had a quality product, I've seen reviewers that were upset, like, dang, man, I couldn't get this game in time. It came in late. And their fans at the bottom were like, hey, we waited for you anyway. Like, we're not going to touch it until we hear from you because we like your content. But IGN's kind of lost that over time.
Aren't they always talking about how far behind they are on game reviews and footage and captures and stuff like that? Anyway, this gives you plenty of time
to catch up, just to give everything a 7. Just go ahead and do that.
There you go. You got plenty of time to catch up on. You got all these other comparison videos you got to do and stuff like that before Switch 2 comes out. I mean, and then you got another 30 days after that, so you can comb over the game and do whatever you need to do after it launches with everybody else. Or are you worried?
Oh yeah, they worried 100%, because I mean, you even look now, I think I said it earlier, the fact that Nate, he was one of the main ones that was advocating like this was a bad thing, but in reality, if I'm him, I'm looking at the situation like their news stories have been based off of me for the past 2 months. So it's like they didn't go and do the research, they didn't do anything else. This stuff came off of me. Now, do they still get like the exclusive interviews like with Doug Bowser? For sure, like they still get those. But when we talk about like day-to-day news, because with anything, they're trying to be in your face 24/7. Even when you look at NBA, once the season goes off, they're replaying all the games on TV anyway. So if I'm IGN, I'm worried about the content creator now being the go-to.
Right.
Because they've gotten enough buzz. I mean, even though he doesn't cover gaming, Marquise Brownlee is everywhere. This dude just hit 2 million? He just hit 2 million subscribers.
He's reviewing cars and stuff now.
I think he's at like 20 million.
20 million. I'm sorry. You're right.
He's the biggest tech.
He's at 20 million. So he's reviewing cars, doing exclusives with David Blaine. Like he's at that stature that IGN probably could never get to at this point. So even though he doesn't cover games, people tune into him, so they make sure that he says whatever he says they follow by, because he's a tech guy. So they're like, okay, if he says this phone is popping or this phone is the right way to go, I'm gonna go this way. Same thing with the Switch 2. So yeah, it's a changing of the tide at this point. You've kind of buried yourself, and the content creator has kind of come up. And the crazy thing is, content creators are kind of following suit as IGN sometimes. As we mentioned, Dreamcast guy, you're going the grifting route, and you're burying yourself too.
Well, here's the other thing too, right? I think they're really scared because their other tactic didn't work either. They tried to follow the politics route and just embed ex journalists as YouTubers and see if they can continue to keep spreading the message while they still privately pay them behind the scenes. That didn't work either. So your regular YouTubers or you're just regular streamer, like Speed will just be like, yeah, I'm playing a game today, and everybody's gonna follow him.
They're gonna follow him.
Yep.
So like they're not. It's not happening. You can't do like other industries do.
Kai's the same way. Like the fact that man was getting ready to play Bloodborne. People tune in to watch him play Bloodborne, and then they thought that was going to entice Sony to make another Bloodborne. Like they have that kind of pull.
Yeah. Which is wild. Nintendo's like, we'll take it.
Right. It's like I was telling somebody earlier today in the comments, I'm like, if your concern was the IGN to catch the casuals or whatever, they don't pay attention to IGN. Jimmy Fallon's gonna get them to purchase it, because they have a tendency to go to Jimmy Fallon and let him play it and showcase it to the world. And it goes from there. It blows up.
Yeah, man. The guard has been passed. It's not them no more, and they can't stand it. They're kicking and screaming like little babies because they had all the power. Like I mentioned before about E3 and stuff like that, and now that anybody could watch E3. Well, now E3's not even around anymore. Now anybody could throw out a YouTube video and you can watch it from your phone anywhere in the world at any moment in time. Now, right? Live. There's no number one. They don't have the power anymore to present it to you because I don't want to go to the IGN stream of the Nintendo stream. Right. I'm going to watch the Nintendo stream.
There you go.
And now they don't have the power because these developers and stuff are putting stuff live. They can't do the thing and just say, hey, before the video, let's throw our little spin on it. And then after the video, let's throw our little spin on it, because they might miss something else, like a tree house or something like that right after the video. So they can't even do that either. All their power is gone.
Yeah.
So all their influence and everything that they used to have, no longer a thing. I mean, the only person.
Do y'all remember Michael Pachter? Enough said.
Man,
Let's
tried
continue
to
to
release
forget
another
him.
video not too long ago.
He did try, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he did try, and it wasn't even as appalling as they normally are. So
He's
that one was
definitely become more tame in the past few years.
he was way more passable this time, and I'm still like
he's wrong all the time. It's like at some point, just shut up. Like
it's just,
you're
his
wrong
levels of
every
wrong
time.
now are not as inflammatory as back then.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, all right, you wrong again, but whatever. That's how I feel now.
He's one of those other people that thought that Nintendo was an American company that's publicly traded on a quarterly basis. He still acted as, well, if they want to get, they got to do this if they want to turn a profit. I'm like, Nintendo is worried about profit for the next 6 years, not the next quarter. That's not what they're doing. And for whatever reason, he was still on that, and that's why he's always been wrong. So, him talking about Wii Pro and Wii HD and all that, none of that ever panned out. And, it is what it is. So he was one of those guys talking about Switch Pro as well too. And then I don't. And Mochizuki, he kept trying to bring it to light with the IXO screens and all that. None of that ever happened.
He did say IXO screens, like, all right, buddy.
Yeah.
Did you know that the Switch 2 was the Switch Pro?
Right.
He really tried that this week too.
So we really gonna. That's what we're doing. We retconning in real time now. We retconning in real time.
I'm like, all right, y'all. Like, come on.
All right. So we got another question here.
Okay.
Shadow, the part that gets me is that there are Nintendo YouTubers that state Nintendo miscommunicated just so they can throw the haters a bone and avoid being called a fanboy.
That Nintendo did it on purpose?
I guess saying like they miscommunicated, I think you have to be specific because there are some things that they did post.
You saying the YouTubers did that? Okay.
Yeah. But because, like, for example, if you look at Prime, like Prime was very specific in what he was saying, to where now you do have some Nintendo YouTubers that just have it very vague, like, hey, they miscommunicated everything.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. They know that those things generate clicks.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't think a lot of them are that soulless when it comes to that. Like, I'll do anything to get. I'm gonna point this little thing out here as a jump scare to get you to click on the video or whatever. Like, sometimes like Sean will do that to troll. RGT, he'll do that to troll every once in a while, but he'll tell you at the beginning of the video, I got you to click. Like, like he'll say that, so that's not really that bad. My thing is the people that do a long drawn out video and they act very serious about it. And that bothers me because I know you did another video saying the complete opposite about something that just happened to not be a Nintendo product.
Yep.
So that kind of that's what bothers me the most. The things that they would use, like 10 things I hate about the Switch at launch, and then they list a whole bunch of things that are true about the PS4. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we? That's the kind of stuff that I don't like. And then they do that because they know that the people that don't like Nintendo will come, the people that like Nintendo will come to fight the people that are saying they don't like Nintendo, and then they get all that buzz and engagement in the comment section, and then people will click on the next video.
Yeah, that's a win-win.
Yeah, so win-win for them, right? And they, and the crazy thing about that is, some of them have no dog in the fight at all. They just really made that video to stir the damn pot, and the profit.
Just like your boy Alex. He has no intent on ever purchase a Nintendo product, but he knows he can bug you by saying he's gonna pirate the games.
Yep.
He'll say
I'm gonna pirate the game. I'm pirate. Okay, well,
like, it's working well on my Steam Deck again or whatever.
Look at me play this on my Steam Deck. Okay, go off, bro. I guess like that's fine. But if I got a gaming PC, I could do it too. I guess, or just a regular PC, I could do it. Or if I mod a Switch, I could play the same games the same way you are.
Yeah.
Like if I just wanted to steal them. What are we?
Oh,
like,
I got.
What are we doing? Like that's just so odd to me. But
I think it's cool, but
yeah, I think the crazy thing is the reaching out part. Like you're really going out there and trying to get people to see what you're doing. That's what bothers me the most. Like if I'm sitting here talking about how much fun I'm having playing this game or whatever, right? You left and I'll say anything else on Twitter or wherever else or whatever, right? You left whatever you were doing to go tell me how you don't like what I'm doing and you're doing it this way.
Right.
What?
Weird behavior.
I'll say that, right? I'll come and say, I'm playing it on this platform or whatever, right? I'm not over here down talking. How dare you play that on PC? You shouldn't do that. You should what? Do we having fun? I don't care what. I wish all these games were cross-platform, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right.
So that way it won't matter. We can all log on and we don't have to look at what logo we got on our controller and we can all play together.
Yeah.
That'd be great to me, to be honest with you. So I just don't understand the allegiance one way or the other. Well, Steam Deck can run it better. Oh, okay, well, you need to tell me which games those are so I can play those on my Steam Deck. Right. And then go from there. Oh, well, it works better on PS5. Okay, well, tell me what game that is so I can go play it on my PS5.
Right.
Well, you don't have PS. Yeah, I do.
You're just a Nintendo fanboy. You ain't got none of that.
But even when you talk about the playing better aspect, even you playing on PS5 is still doing at the lowest. I mean, it's still doing it at a lower ability than what it was on PC.
Yeah.
Because if you really want to play at the highest quality, you're gonna go and trick out your PC and play it that way.
But then those same people are tight whenever Sony releases a PC version video. They're in the comments mad,
pissed off. Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Because it really comes back down to optimization. But at the end of the day, when it comes, if you're going to be upset with Nintendo gamers, it was why do you choose lower? I can ask you the same thing. You can go and spend about $2,000 plus, get your PC rocks off and be good to go. But in reality, we all prefer plug and play for the most part. And then if it works, it works. I don't need the best of the best. I didn't go out and buy a super expensive 4K TV. No, I waited until my LG went on sale and got it for Christmas. Sometimes you don't need the best of the best because sometimes it's just not going to give you what you need anyway. You can settle for less and still get what you want.
Yep.
That's my thing too. That when people do that kind of stuff, and I would just get really, 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 I won't say reductive, but the opposite of reductive. Just go on and say, hey, look, so you think these graphics are poor, right? In this situation, I got this version of this game for the same reason you got this version of the game on the platform that you play on, even though a PC could do it way better. Yep. Oh, well, I have PC too. Oh, okay, but do you have it and can it play the game at 8K? Well, no PC can play it at 8K. Yeah, it can. You just need a data center. Why don't you have a data center? Rent a $125,000 an hour data center so you can play this game at 8K, 120 frames per second. Why don't you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's expensive. Oh, so you get the point.
E-word.
Maybe you have to pay for some things if you want certain things, right? So you can't sit there and pocket watch somebody else on what they do. If all they care about is playing 720p every once in a while and they're playing their Switch Lite, why are you care?
Correct.
Right.
Why do you care? They're still playing it. Oh, that's the weakest version of it. Blah blah blah. Where's your data center at?
There you go.
Because you want real ray tracing, right? The only way you can get real ray tracing is on every surface in every part of the game. And that little crappy laptop GPU inside of a PS5 ain't doing that. You gotta pick a surface, bro. You gotta pick a shadow, bro. It can't be all of them. So where's your data center? Because that's what you need. So all the shadows are raycast all the time. So that's the conversation. And when I do that, they don't. Well, why are you being like that? You're being a butt. No, I'm taking your logic and applying it to the extreme. Because that's where you're going with this. It doesn't make any sense. And the reason you're going to tell me it's dumb is the same reason what you're saying is dumb right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just is what it is. Geronimo know how I am.
Yeah. It's just funny, man.
It's just man. People. They just
they're choosing the weirdest hills to die on at this point. Like it's very strange, but hey, it's entertainment. So
all right, so we got one last question here. Kanisa said, question to all, what impact the Switch 2 will have to the console gaming landscape now that third parties who missed the Switch wagon will jump on board?
Oh, I got a good one for that one.
Yeah.
For myself, I mean, since I'm going to be a Switch 2 owner, there'll be no real change to me. But as far as the landscape itself and how I think third party is still going to third party.
Correct. Yeah.
They're going
Especially
to other Nintendo in ways that they can at the time, and I don't think it's going to be for the excuses that they used before. Now it's going to be literal money. They don't want to print those cards, bro. They don't want to pay for it. They don't want to do it. So there's going to be a lot of the game key cards. There's going to be a lot of we need a bigger cart size so we can do so and so. And I'm like, if they had the bigger cart size, would you pay for it? The answer is no, because you didn't do it on
Exactly.
Switch. So that kind of stuff. Are you going to compress your games? What are you going to do? So I see that still being a thing, because in a world where Call of Duty is elapsing 300 gigs, depending on what version you get,
that's disgusting.
Yeah, games are extremely bloated right now. So the average college gamer or what have you, Switch 2 is probably not going to be their first option. I'll say that now, and I think a lot of people, I would say within my local vicinity or whatnot, and my kids and their friends and stuff like that, their friends group, they have like one console and a PC, and the majority of the games they play on PC. So I'm seeing a lot of that happening now, and it may be a Switch 2 and PC generation. And it may be, so what we may end up seeing is a lot of the transferring to happen between Switch and PC. So I have no fun.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah,
shout out to transferring.
Yep. So cross-play, cross-progression. I see a lot of that happening, man. And I love using it on God, why can't I think of the name of this game? Jesus, I love this game. What's the name of Hades? That's it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that game worked really well with that. I liked it. You pick up your save and you just pick right up where you left off, and you can do a run and then go from there. It's great.
Yeah.
So I think more of that's coming, and that'd be good.
So how will it change the landscape of gaming? I think now we'll start seeing the dwindling of paid exclusivity for a couple of months. Third party companies can't afford to do that at this point. With pricing going up and sales not following suit, it's kind of hard. And I know most people kind of look at it from a standpoint as well too, is if I charge more, then I can sell less. Give or take, that could be the case for some, but not all. But even when we look at how they can change it, they kind of already done it. This is just a continued marathon from 2017, to where we talk about hybrid gaming. This is something that I feel, probably wouldn't have happened if Wii U was accepted and we would have been on the train of asymmetrical gaming. So either way, they would have changed the landscape of gaming, whether it was hybrid or asymmetrical. So now we're going into the second iteration of the Switch. They're now giving you yet another way of playing, no matter how many people want to dumb it down. But you literally have, I play dock mode with a Pro controller. I can play in dock mode with split Joy-Cons. I can turn my Joy-Con on the side. I can now play mouse mode. I can also do all of those things on tabletop mode, and then I can switch to handheld mode. Also, while sharing a game using one cartridge to play with other people with certain games, as well as start this lending of virtual games.
Yep.
They're doing a lot, and is being overlooked because of the fear mongering with the digital aspect, along with the $80 Mario Kart World situation is being overshadowed. And I know right now I'm still trying to put a video together of like all the games I would like to see with mouse mode. Like that in itself has cost me to pick up a lot of games. And I know there's plenty of people like, well, what's the difference between doing that with PC and, and the Switch? WASD.
Yeah,
it's the big difference. Because trying to figure out how to do keyboard and mouse gaming versus single Joy-Con and mouse, two totally different things. So, and then not to mention, you think about, yes, there's ability to plug up a mouse and keyboard to consoles currently, but games are not meant for it on the console. I know you can do some clicking here and there, but I don't think all games actually work with it. So it really wouldn't benefit you anyway. So outside of the way you play, trying to give you some type of physical form with digital, I still would like to see a lot of these console manufacturers go the way of Steam and giving you at least that 2-hour window, or how long you've actually owned the game, for you to do a return. But I'm pretty sure that maybe it'll come with time. But at least the key card is a good middle point for right now.
Yeah.
But then I think where the biggest change will come is kind of similar to what Shadow was saying. Like you'll have more third parties playing ball and not porting and building from the ground up, because like I said, they can't afford to play around at this point. They can't, because Sony doesn't have the foothold that they used to. And especially if you're trying to be some type of force in Japan, you got to go to Nintendo. You have to. So in order for you to sell the way you want to, you have to go to them. And now you have no excuse. Before, it could be that your game just wasn't capable of being on the Switch, maybe, but now you don't have that excuse anymore. And with Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, with Cyberpunk 2077, with Elden Ring Tarnished, they're showing it up front. And all they have to grab now are those gamers that buy one game a generation, be it the FIFAs, the CODs, and the 2Ks. Once Madden shows up in August, and 2K shows up in September, and COD October or November, that'll be the test right there.
That's it. Yep.
That'll be the test. If Take-Two and Activision really put their foot in it, along with EA, if they put their foot in it, and we get a similar product, not saying it's gonna be a good product, just a similar product in the case of Madden, parody, then there's really no excuse, because now we can even go into the bag that, even though we speak ill of Madden and EA sometimes, they did utilize the gamepad. They did utilize it. So if we look at it from a Switch 2 standpoint, I could be throwing a football with my Joy-Con. I could do that. When we talk about NBA 2K could do the same thing with shooting a basketball. COD, we already know where that's gonna go. That's gyro, motion control, mouse control.
They better
remember when gyro
there.
was Waggle?
Waggle tech, Waggle game.
Yeah. Remember that was Waggle, and they downplayed it that way. That's the other thing that Gaming Press did too. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
So, they've already changed the landscape, but I think this is just taking it to that next step. I don't know what HD Rumble 2 feels like, but if it's on par with DualSense, then that's amazing in itself.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah.
By the same company immersion anyway, so.
Exactly. So, at this point, to answer your question, they're already doing it. So now it's just a matter of getting it in your hands, getting the stupidity out the way, and you just enjoying the games that are to come. And I say kudos to third party and first party trying to find spacing, because you don't want to overlap anybody, and that's where it's going to get a little murky, but but it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, so I would say, kind of speaking on the same, like Jack, as far as the gaming landscape goes, with third parties, I think the big testimony, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, is definitely going to be when this fall season comes up. One thing that I talk about like often, I had a huge argument with one of my friends, and like he's not even like tech savvy like that. He just plays games to play games, and then he throws up stuff like FPS and all that other stuff. And so even before the Switch 2 was even like revealed to us, I'm like, man, these are the things that they're saying. This is what we're hearing. And he's like, well, why would things like even if the system did 60 frames, he's like, well, Switch doesn't do 60 frames. And I'm like, bro, now I know you don't know what you're talking about. But
right,
like, even if the next system did 60 frames, PS5 does 120 frames. So like there's people playing COD on 120 frames, like, so they still have a clear advantage over the people who are playing 60 frames. And and in my head, I'm like, yeah, but they're playing 120 frames using a controller. Like,
Right. Yep. There you go.
the fastest Switch 2 now has the 2 fastest ways to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
A mouse and direct pointing. Like,
and depending on what Activision does, you can play 120 frames per second in your hand.
There you go.
Right.
That's true.
Hey. Sitting at a bar somewhere with 2 Joy-Con.
Right. So now you just went. So you just had a system that didn't have the games at all, to having a system that has a clear advantage over everybody else. So when you're thinking about changing when you're thinking about landscaping and changing out the whole market, to be honest with you, we started off with the Switch, and we didn't have the gaming PC or the PC handhelds and all that other stuff. And obviously, clearly, they saw the market and how much money that could make. Now, have they been successful in that? Relatively so for the PC market, but not for the general consumer market, right? But it's one of those things, especially, and we've seen it with Sony and Microsoft even in the past generations. If something works really well for Nintendo, a lot of times Sony and Microsoft will try and eat their way over without fully being like, yeah, we need to copy this format too, because that's what's really making the money.
It's the Sony Direct, guys.
Yeah, you know,
that's what I call them. Yeah, Sony Direct.
You can look back. You can look back at the Wii. You know, they needed some sort of peripherals to have their own version of Wii. Yep. Microsoft tried to step ahead of time and was like, you know, instead of having a whole controller, like, we just use smart glass. Y'all remember?
Yeah.
About to say it.
The Wii U was coming, so they didn't know if it was going to take off or not. So they had the you were going to be able to do dual screen with the PlayStation Vita. Mm-hmm. And you had smart glass with the Xbox One.
Remote play PlayStation. Yep.
They both thought that it could possibly take off, so they needed something in play.
They had to get ready, and so we're in the Switch era. This is a full hybrid system. Now I'm gonna say this because I want to be as clear as possible with the way that the gaming landscape is going to be. I do see this. I still see the Steam Deck and all that other stuff. I still see them coming around with new iteratives and stuff like that. The scary part is what does Microsoft and Sony do in this situation? Microsoft isn't really getting sales off of their consoles. And I to be honest with you, I feel like even if they did come out with their own hybrid or their own handheld, I really don't see it doing that well, even with Game Pass.
We'll see very soon.
Very soon. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a struggle for them, and I think it's going to be even more of a so. What happens? And this is for Sony. What happens when you make a crap decision and you have to stand on business?
Yep.
But that business is continuously a crap decision. And now you got so much crap on you that, like, you can't see the way out because you have to stick with it now.
Yeah,
like, it's wild to me. It's wild to me that you got trapped into making a half generation console, a mid-gen refresh. That's what they like to call it, a mid-gen refresh for a system, and you come out with a new system, but realistically, it's not that far from your old system, your mid-gen refresh. And then now you come out with another mid-gen refresh, but it wasn't because the system wasn't capable enough, but it was because you didn't have any AI upscaling to the system.
and they couldn't have Nintendo come out with it first. They could not.
Yeah, that's why they pushed it last year.
But
and
even then,
Digital Foundry was saying like, oh, some things are not quite as good as they could be. PSSR and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Because you're talking software versus hardware at that point.
Yeah. Yep. And so now, what do you do when you come out with another system that's supposed to be only a half step from your last system, and your last system ain't really selling like how you want it because you don't have enough software to support that system? And it's funny to me, I'll put this as a side note. This is a super side note too. It's funny to me that people drool and awe over Grand Theft Auto 6,
right?
When in reality, that was what your games were supposed to look like in the first place. Like,
right. They're the ones that's actually, been taking all this time developing since mostly since 2018.
You were being held back by the half generation system, and y'all complain about how the Xbox Series S was holding y'all back this whole generation. It wasn't even them. It wasn't even them. It was y'all. But to keep on track. So I'm trying to figure out how Sony is going to be viable enough to come out with the PlayStation 6 and a handheld. And the handheld is supposed to play the PlayStation 5 games, but also support the PlayStation 6 games, and have a PlayStation 6 game supposed to be way more capable than the PlayStation 5 Pro. So where do you put the handheld version of that game at? Now you're cluttering your market. Now you got 4 systems, right?
Now here's what's scary.
I think
that didn't sell too well. So we don't know.
You got one. Okay.
That Portal didn't. It's not lighting the world on fire. So
they say they're happy though. We're happy with the sales.
I'd be happy too if I went and I dropped something like that and people wouldn't bought it. I would too.
So now I got a $600 Wii U, y'all. Oh wait, $700 Wii U.
Yeah, about to say $700.
Yep, $700. About to be more when they announce the increase.
Yes, I guess my what scared not scares me. What should scare them is how quick mouse mode is going to take off for people.
Yep.
Because it's instantaneous. There's no drivers. There's no is this game compatible? You pick it up and it works. So I think that's going to change the game for people because now you got people you're potentially trying to capture the PC audience.
Yep.
So now when you got Civilization and you got what's the other game that that made the Mario Rabbids games? What's
Ubisoft?
What's the name of that? XCOM, those people.
Oh, XCOM.
Yeah.
They've been quiet for a minute. Yeah.
So when you got games like that, and then you were just talking earlier about Diablo 4.
Yep.
That's prime.
So now we're talking about potential ports. All these PC games that weren't doing too well, Baldur's Gate 3 and stuff like that, they're coming out. They get all this fanfare and all that, but they're like, these ain't evergreen games.
Yep.
They can have new life on Switch 2. And at some point, when they start making all the money there, they're going to end up being a lead platform. So we're starting to see, and when we're talking about PC developers and stuff like that, they're not going to bend to the will of what the publisher says. They're like, hey, this is our target. This is what we're starting with. I don't know what else you want me to tell you. So that's, when you start talking about that, that's a little bit different. Now, if you're talking about traditional console studios that are looking for a publisher every single time, they'll do whatever they tell them. But if you're talking about a PC developer, like a couple of guys they started off raw and uncut. They started off as, hey, we're indie, like straight up, and we just happen to get a publisher for this game, and the next game we're going to have a different publisher. And when they're looking at where they're going to go next, like Nintendo's going to be the target because they see the potential most amount of people being there, and they don't care what that publisher tells them. They'll just go to another publisher that will say yes. So I think that's going to be a thing we're seeing going forward. And I think what we're not paying attention to is how good undocked play is going to look.
Yep.
Because this screen has HDR. It also has G-Sync on it. So so it doesn't matter what the frame rate is going to be. It's going to look like 60 to you. And I don't think people are paying attention to how well that's going to take off. The first time you see somebody in tabletop mode sitting somewhere and how smooth that ends up looking,
man,
no matter what angle you're looking at too, that's going to catch eyeballs. And just like regular Switch, it's word of mouth at this point, and you're like, hey, try this game, and you can share the game with them temporarily.
Yep.
Right then and there, you're at a bar and you just made 30 sales for Nintendo for free. I don't think people are understanding that, and I think people are slipping on the fact that the Switch dock has a fan. I think we're going to start to see some really nice looking games upscaled or even natively at 1440p on this system, whether they're first party games or third party games. At this point, I'm really starting to think we're going to see some really good stuff, and indie games are going to be in 4K on Nintendo platform for the first time. I really think people need to pay attention to this, and I don't think they're when it comes to stuff like that. Oh, now it doesn't matter whether you have a PS5 or Switch 2. It looks exactly the same. There's zero compromises at this point. Pixel for pixel, it's the exact same game. So now what are we doing? Because now the Switch is on compromise in a dock or in your hand. Like, what are we doing? And then the upscaling is just obviously top notch because Nvidia is still on top of that game right now until AMD catches up. FSR supposedly 4.0 is supposed to be it, but in practice I've seen it be all over the place. So we shall see. But I think those three things are going to make heads turn, and that's going to be like. And when I mean heads turn, I'm not saying, hey, I'm talking about this because this is a feature when it's actually in motion. So it'd be kind of hard to turn away from. So we'll see how it goes though. That may change the landscape.
Yeah, I think as far as the landscape is concerned, I think there's gonna be a number of effects for it, and I think we'll truly see it this fall when the big ones come out, like you all pretty much mentioned, like we're gonna get the Call of Duty. They promised it with their whole effort of buying APK. So we're likely gonna get that this year, or at least when they announce it, we're gonna see that logo down there on the trailer. The sports games coming through. For Madden specifically, one of the other reasons why, and I think some others will do this as 10th generation continues on, they really added Switch 2 to go with PS5 and Xbox Series because they're just straight up dropping for an Xbox One. Like they straight up said, all right, y'all, it's been 5 years. Y'all could have made a savings plan and get you PS5 or Xbox whatever, PC whatever. Now it's time. Or you can just get the Switch 2 version, brand spanking new. So I feel like some others are going to continue doing that for some of their annual type releases. We'll have to see for like Call of Duty. We just have to see year on year. I think we'll have to see. Can't really claim that yet. As far as Japanese support, I mean, we're already seeing it in a number of ways. They're pretty much all going to be all in. Some have even said straight up, like Marvel is coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, because they understand, a lot of us on the Nintendo platform, we do value the physical game."
Right.
They pretty much said like, "Yeah, we're gonna for their slate this year, we're gonna have everything on cartridges straight up." So, and even better stuff like the latest Rune Factory, that's gonna have the Switch 1 version and the Switch 2 version on it. So that's pretty much the better version to buy if you're expecting to do that. But you're not even into it. So Japan as a whole is going to be all in on it for the most part. We've seen what Square said. They pretty much, in a way, of their own way, saying, "Yeah, we're Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy is coming to Switch 2 as well." Sega, specifically RGG Studio, they've made the effort of bringing the Dragon engine on. Like they pretty much said that when Yakuza Kiwami came out last year, and that told me, oh, they're finally in. They finally want to make more money. They finally want to grow that audience of, that's why we're getting Yakuza 0 director's cut. Yes, it's going to all the platforms, but the fact that they're doing that and that version also looks very good. And it came out and announced, I think it was last weekend for Evo Japan, that the newest Virtua Fighter 5 Revo coming to Switch 2. Never had a mainline Virtua Fighter on there. So Dragon Engine is on Nintendo now. That's a big deal. So they're probably just going to keep releasing all the new stuff. If they make more Judgment games or whichever else, things like that in nature. Capcom, we'll have to see.
They freed Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, we have Street Fighter. Yeah, so that's the number one. It's like FGC on top. It's like it's not just some very particular Super Street Fighter 2 HD remake. It's nothing like that now. It's just not. This is hey, we got Digital Foundry slipping. How good Street Fighter 6 looks.
Yeah.
And I do think like this. I think this first year, as far as the Western support, will be really good, but how it stands throughout the rest of the generation remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, like the Take-Two guy, that was great that he said, but we'll see. I mean, granted, they themselves like Rockstar, they don't really release too many new games nowadays because GTA 5 is their never-ending breadwinner. Like they like billion, like I'm sure they've well over $1 billion in like just revenue off that
For
game
sure.
alone, and that's probably not even in the past decade. Plus, that could have been in the past 5 years, if that. So, now as far as like the others and their next consoles, we'll probably see for Xbox. We're gonna see the what is it, Asus or whoever's making it, the Asus with
Oh
the
yeah,
Xbox
Asus.
logo on it.
Yeah.
We're gonna see their mini PC effort, and it's not gonna move the needle at all because most people ain't really looking for anything with Xbox branded hardware now. Like
Right.
Game Pass is, Game Pass is great when it can be, depending on what's coming out. I do have Game Pass on my PC because I saw back in 2019 it's not worth investing in Xbox hardware anymore because they're making the same mistakes. We saw that. So yeah, when they do finally make their Xbox whatever, I think it's gonna blur the lines more of like traditional bespoke hardware console, and it maybe just be like Microsoft Steam machine. Probably just gonna have the Xbox app UI. It's probably gonna be that, just adapted for bigger screens or whatnot.
Yeah.
PlayStation. Now this might be. Now I'm not expecting this to be a popular opinion, but what I think Sony might do, depending on if they're on track of bringing out their PlayStation 6 and like let's say 2028 or something. Let's say they want to try and bring it out by then. I think they're gonna try and do like the the Pro version and the standard in one fell swoop, or within like a year of each other. I think the lead is going to be either their version of a hybrid system, or it'll be just like, oh, this handheld can also plug into your TV and dock, and they'll sell some PlayStation branded dock. It may not do some of the stuff that the Switch and Switch 2 do, as far as switching a profile, allowing more access to certain clock speeds and whatnot. I don't know if they'll do that, but I do think that PS6 is going to be a hybrid and or PC handheld first, and the PlayStation 6 Pro will be the dedicated console. The people that want to drop a band, $1,000 for those who don't know, don't want to drop a band on the plug into your TV standalone console with all the power that Sony says it's going to tout or whatnot, they can have that too. Will they be happy about the price? Probably not. They're going to whine about it on Twitter or whatever, but then you'll see them get it, and then that'll be into that. So I think they're going to try and find a way to cater to, we have the biggest presentation of everything, but still get to the people that are like, oh, you like that handheld, PC handheld or hybrid form factor? Well, here's our version, so you don't look quite as close to Nintendo.
Yeah.
And like you guys said about indies are gonna eat like every day is Thanksgiving dinner. The first indie direct we see, it's probably gonna have a mixture of your Switch 1 and 2 stuff, just because Switch 1 is still very viable for a lot of indie games. Yeah, we're gonna see those, and we're gonna see stuff just looking great, running great. Yeah, and they're just gonna keep doing what they do there. I really can't think of many indies that haven't jumped over or anything like that, or haven't really blown up due to like the original Switch's success.
Right.
So yeah, so I do think a lot of that's gonna just kind of be the case going forward. Yeah, kind of remains to be seen about the Western studios, but yeah, I think it's gonna eat up a lot of like the shared console buying power, in a sense. Not buying power, but like user base, I'll say it like that, because Xbox is diminishing year on year. PlayStation, they keep saying like they're just under or on track with PS4 hardware sales, which is great. Software, I'm sure not quite as what it should be, but they're probably making a lot more money just because all their services have gone up.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's kind of like that. So in all, to summarize, I think more is going to bleed into the Nintendo ecosystem, depending on how certain games are day one when they release alongside the others. And if they continue to provide parity with the annualized release, or the next expected release, I think more people will choose Switch 2 over like PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series, whatever it's called. I don't think it's going to just take them all. I think it's going to be a gradual thing. It's going to be a generational process for sure, but I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Now, to add to your COD point, I know a while back I mentioned like, yeah, we know it's going to be a 10-year thing, but they never specified. what it was going to be. Now, I was on the fence of it being both the main series as well as Warzone, but now Warzone's gone. So now only COD Mobile is around. So
I was kind of surprised to see Warzone Mobile going bye-bye, but hey.
Well, I mean, they were trying to get away from Tencent, and it didn't work. So, so now it's got to be the mainline series. But I would say the one thing that's going to take some time for sure to change in the landscape is convincing people to start over on their library.
Yeah.
If they want to, or either they just kind of keep what they have and then just start investing going on, because I know that's a current problem I ran into. Like, I had to make that decision, like, hey, am I willing to reset my library? Like, I don't have my Xbox anymore, I don't have my PlayStation anymore, I still have my ROG Ally, so I'm at my Steam library still there. But going forward, do I just want to invest in only Nintendo? And I think that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people.
A lot of people making that call though. It definitely during 2020, a lot of people, okay, this is what I'm about to do, because I'm not, because now you have all your time on your hands and you can focus, and you're like, you know what, I'm not even really using all these. So that became, I saw that a lot. Like, I mean in private too. So,
and it's one thing to where even when you throw pricing in there, because it's like you can't afford to keep playing around with 2-3 consoles and a PC. Like you gotta put all your eggs in one basket. Like that's so, and it was easier to do because you knew third parties were gonna go to Sony and Microsoft, but you were like, if it does come to Switch, are they gonna have to do it? And so that's where
year over year. That's what I want to see.
So you had to like really, really sit back and watch. But this time around, I feel like, hey, not only are we going to have parity, but we're talking about day and date. So where they're right there with them. I would say the one game we know about that may not be day and date is GTA 6. And I think that's going to be one of those, hey, Switch 2 and PC release at the same time.
Yeah, I think that would be the case for sure.
Yeah. I think even if all things were the same, they would make sure to stagger a Switch 2 release anyway. I think they know what the outcome would be if that was available on the exact same day as everything else. So
right.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's I can see that for sure. I just want to see who's gonna do it first. That and when the pattern starts.
So Virtual Fighter 5 probably. That'll probably be day and date, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, other than that, I see we got like a total of 91 people here, just shy of 100 people. But
appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all like the video,
like all the videos,
like,
subscribe to everyone.
Yep.
So we're gonna call it here. We are at 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Oh, it's a shadow cast. Great.
Yeah, it officially hit because we stop at 3 hours. An extra 30 minutes.
Somebody called it Sand Fox
instead of Sand Fox. That's funny, man. I like that. That's funny.
So with that being said, thank you guys so much for coming through. Before we get out of here, Jack, what you got up for us?
Man, just really playing this waiting game. What I want to do. And, I got to make sure I tell my kids before this is like, hey, let's, do a quick video, of the unboxing and everything whenever we finally do get the Switch 2. And, I think our first, well, at least my first mission is to test the theory that for these uncapped games, to see if they just run on their own without any updates. Because I know one of the key things a lot of people were a little upset about was like Echoes of Wisdom, and like so I mean those games, I mean it had frame rate issues, and so it's the same thing when we look at Xenoblade. It's like, hey, is that not going to be there? Like that patch is not going to be there, and I'm assuming that's going to be like a Monolith Soft just dropping a patch probably day one. But I want to test it out to see if it's just if the system itself just fixes a lot of the issues with some of the games that I have. And then just kind of post up just to showcase some things here and there. I mean, I will be purchasing Welcome Tour. I've already purchased Hogwarts Legacy for the 28. I pre-ordered Cyberpunk 2077. I kind of pulled back on Sonic and Shadow, as well as there was another one I pulled back on.
Sega's low-key wilding, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, I kind of pulled back on them. So I'll be testing out some stuff and putting that up. But as far as right now, man, just it's more of a music focus. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, just to kind of get that out the way, so that way whenever it does show up, I can set all my time, because I already took from June 4th to the 6th off from work. So I was like, hey, we in there. Yeah.
I may need to add an extra day to mine too, because I think I only took the 5th off. Now I'm like,
nope. So we doing that midnight release.
They did the 5th, 6th, and that upcoming Monday.
Oh, okay. You did the Monday as well?
That's what I did. Yeah, because I had to remember the 5th is a Thursday this year.
Yeah. Well, I'm hybrid on Mondays, so I'm cool.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my bad. I was reading, but I wasn't paying. I was paying attention, but I was reading mostly. So,
you good.
Shadow. What you got?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I may have to take that whole week off.
Yeah.
'Cause I have like multiple purchases across multiple stores. I'm gonna have to.
I can't do that because I got sitting there all week and with nothing to do. I can't do that. That's why I was like, I'll work up until.
Yeah. Because I feel like days will be even longer when you got like, dang, I really wanted to get here.
Yeah, well, I got stuff to pick up and plenty of stuff to do here. Unfortunately, so I'll be running more fiber throughout the house and other things as well. So yeah, I'll definitely have my work cut out for me anyway. So, but I have I got quite a few things to pick up from there. So I got stuff coming from Target, but then there's other stuff that I have to pick up, and then there's other stuff that's going to be delivered from other places. So I don't even know how I'm going to do unboxing for that, and y'all really going to hate me because I haven't even I still have unboxings for the PS5 and the Series X still sitting on here. I don't know, 5 years later, would y'all really want to see that? I'm not sure, but I have the video and I don't want to waste the footage, so it might, maybe I'll just do them all together as one big video so you see all of them together. But I definitely plan on doing that. But other than that, it's just constant continuity on the channel. Maybe if y'all want to see me throw this PC together, I could do some video capture of that. I guess I have to set up a tripod, but I could do that too, and then y'all can see that, because I think for whatever reason I did a video and it was me modifying the inside of my older Mac Pro over here. And for whatever reason, I got a couple comments off of that, like, "Hey, I want to." I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should do some stuff like that too, and go from there. But other than that, channel dead, not dead. I upload from time to time, and that's pretty much what I got going on.
All right, and Geronimo, what you got for us?
So pretty much next couple of videos on the channel. Well, pretty much this past week, I've been kind of took a time, like we're pretty much at the end of Switch 1 life as far as before 10th gen starts. So I've been kind of just talking about my Switch physical collection. So turns out talking about those took up to 2 hours. So I split them up into 4 videos. So the first 3 have been out. They've been doing pretty well, I would say, pretty well for the channel. 4th part will be out Monday or Tuesday. I'm aiming for, just keep up with the socials and everything, or if you're already subscribed, just look out for my random posts talking about stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much just me talking about my physical collection. I do want to do another video between that though, or before it, talking about Nintendo just a couple nights ago, just detailing what the updates are going to be for certain Switch 1 games running on Switch 2.
Free.
Free, right. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Just get that randomly on Tuesday or Thursday night. But yeah, I want to talk about that and what I think those actually going to mean, because I have noticed some are kind of getting a little. They're not able to, like, they're not understanding Nintendo's verbiage of frame rate or resolution, or things like that. Like, does it mean this 30 frame second game goes to 60, or does it just lock it at 30? So I'm gonna try and break it down as best I can for that. And then so again, as far as like Switch 2 launch stuff. Yeah, some of it will be playing, but it will also be a lot of content. Like I'm gonna do kind of like what you're planning on doing, Jack. I'm actually working on a list of Switch 1 games, certain specific parts I could think of, and seeing how they run just dropped into Switch2. And kind of just, I think I'm gonna just upload footage and let the footage speak for itself.
Yeah, there you
Probably
go.
not even gonna talk about it, not even do voiceovers or text or anything. Just gonna let it ride, and people that want to find information, they can find it. And yeah, I'm still working on that list. It's probably gonna be pretty lengthy, but we're gonna be working. So, but yeah, glad to be on as usual.
Okay. Well, as for the Sandstorm show, we are here every Saturday at 7 o'clock p.m. And then tomorrow is the Winging It podcast show with my Winging It brothers at 7 o'clock as well. And then we are on the Jill podcast, the Juices Loose podcast at 7. I haven't been over there lately. I'll probably talk to my brothers over here about that afterwards. But with that being said, Fridays we also have either the Vitoverse on Fridays at 9:30 or Nunami, which is going to be canceled for a little while because Noto is getting his place all set up for that. So that will come back as soon as he's done. I don't know how soon that will be, but just letting you guys know ahead of time. Make sure that you subscribe to everybody here. Definitely, absolutely subscribe. Hit the like button. It helps us all out. Lets us know that we're doing a great job, even though we know we're doing a great job anyway, but the backing is always great. With that being said, normally I would shout everybody out, but it is way too many people to shout out this time.
Appreciate y'all coming through.
Y'all real ones.
Yeah, the real one. Thank you all for showing up. We really appreciate you guys. You know how we exit out of here, so thank you.
Tino Prime came through too.
Yeah,
he did. He was
He did pop in there. That was cool.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't tell Geronimo the latest news, so I got to tell you that afterwards as well. So.
Okay.
So pray out. Thank you, Father God, for giving us this opportunity, this safe space that we had. We really appreciate the time. We really appreciate the conversations that we were having, good, healthy conversations to enlighten others about false narratives and misinformation that was spread. So thank you for just giving us the space to open up and shed light. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys on the flip. See you tomorrow.